She only gets married once, Mom said, emptying my savings bonds. 5 years later, my assistant knocked. Dr. Anderson, your parents are in the pharmacy about payment plans. I looked up from the medical patent I was signing and said, tell them the pharmacy closes at 6. They can speak to the financial counselor about assistance programs like everyone else. I signed my name on the patent application, a revolutionary insulin delivery system that would change millions of lives, and tried to ignore the irony. My parents needed help affording Dad's diabetes medication, and here I was, about to make millions from the very disease they'd ignored while planning my sister's fairy tale wedding. 5 years. It had been only 5 years since they'd emptied my future for Chloe's special day. I was 24, in my second year of medical school, when the bonds matured. 20 years of birthday money, Christmas gifts, and graduation presents from grandparents, aunts, uncles, all invested in savings bonds in my name. They'd grown to $47,000, not a fortune, but enough to get me through med school without crushing debt. We need to talk about Chloe's wedding, Mom had announced that Thanksgiving, her eyes sparkling with excitement I'd never seen when discussing my medical school achievements. What about it? I'd asked, though Chloe's engagement to her investment banker boyfriend was all anyone talked about anymore. She has such a specific vision, Mom gushed. The Plaza Hotel, custom Vera Wang dress, flowers flown in from Holland, a live band from Nashville. It's going to be magical. Sounds expensive. $60,000, Dad said, the number hanging in the air like a challenge. Wow, hope Brad's family is contributing. They're paying for the honeymoon, Chloe said defensively. Bora Bora, 2 weeks, so you need $60,000 for one day? The most important day of my life, Chloe corrected, her engagement ring catching the light. She'd made sure everyone noticed the 3-carat stone at every opportunity. We've saved $15,000, Mom continued. Brad's parents gave 10. We're looking at options for the rest. That's what I felt it, the shift in the room, the way they all carefully didn't look at me. No, I said immediately, whatever you're thinking. No, hear us out, Dad said in his reasonable voice. Your bonds are worth $47,000. We'd only need 35. You'd still have 12,000 left. Those bonds are for medical school. You have loans, Mom pointed out. Everyone takes loans for school. I already have loans. The bonds were to minimize them, to let me focus on studying instead of working 3 jobs. She only gets married once, Mom said, as if that explained everything. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. So is medical school. Natalie, don't be selfish, Chloe said, tears already forming. She'd perfected the art of crying without ruining her makeup. I've dreamed of this wedding since I was 5, and I'd dreamed of being a doctor since I was 7. The difference is, I worked for my dream. Are you saying I don't work? Chloe's voice rose. I've spent months planning this wedding. Planning to spend other people's money isn't work. Girls, please, Dad intervened. Natalie, think about it logically. You'll be a doctor. You'll make plenty of money to pay back loans. But Chloe only has this one chance at her perfect wedding. Perfect wedding? She's known Brad for 8 months. When you know, Chloe said dreamily. What I know is that those bonds are mine. Legally, morally, mine. Actually, Mom pulled out paperwork. We're still listed as custodians. We can access them until you're 25. I'm 24, which means we have a year to help both our daughters achieve their dreams. By stealing from one to give to the other? It's not stealing, Dad said firmly. It's family helping family. Chloe would do the same for you. I looked at my sister, who was scrolling through Pinterest, already mentally spending my money on centerpieces. Would you, Chloe? Would you give me $35,000 if I needed it? She looked up, offended. I don't have $35,000, but if you did, that's not fair. This is my wedding we're talking about, my special day, and this is my future we're destroying for your special day. One day, Mom said sharply, you're being asked to sacrifice for one day, your sister's wedding day, the day every girl dreams of. Not every girl dreams of a $60,000 party. Some of us dream of curing diseases and saving lives. You can still do that, Dad said, just with more loans. Do you know what $35,000 in additional loans means? With interest? That's $50,000 I'll be paying back. That's years of working in underserved areas because they're the only ones offering loan forgiveness. That's delaying having a family, buying a house, having any life outside of paying back debt you created. Now who's being dramatic? Chloe rolled her eyes. It's just money. Just money? Then why don't you just have a smaller wedding? Because I deserve my dream wedding, she snapped. I'm only doing this once. What about my dreams? You'll achieve yours no matter what, Mom said simply. You always do. You're the smart one, the driven one. Chloe needs our help more. Chloe needs a reality check. 60,000 for a party is insane. It's not a party, Chloe cried. It's my wedding, the beginning of my life with Brad. Then maybe Brad should pay for it. His family already contributed, Dad said. 10,000 for a $60,000 wedding, while his bride's family goes into debt. We're not going into debt, Mom said. We're using available resources. My resources, family resources, Dad corrected. And the family has decided. They'd already decided. This whole conversation was just a formality, a chance for me to agree gracefully, but I wasn't graceful. I fought, begged, reasoned, cried, none of it mattered. The bonds were cashed the next week. The wedding was everything Chloe dreamed of. I attended in a dress I'd bought at Target, smiled for photos I'd never look at, and gave a toast through gritted teeth. The flowers were indeed from Holland. The band was indeed from Nashville. Every detail was indeed perfect. The marriage lasted 11 months. Turns out Brad had a gambling problem he'd hidden well, also a cocaine habit, also a girlfriend in Boston. The fairy tale ended with divorce papers and Chloe moving back home, her perfect wedding dress still hanging in Mom's closet like a $60,000 ghost. Meanwhile, I graduated medical school with $340,000 in debt instead of $290,000. That extra $50,000? It haunted every decision. I couldn't take the research position I wanted, paid too little, couldn't join Doctors Without Borders, needed income immediately, couldn't even take a sick day, every hour meant money toward loans. But necessity breeds innovation. Working in an underfunded clinic, I saw diabetic patients rationing insulin, skipping doses, dying from a manageable disease because they couldn't afford medication. It made me think of Dad, who'd started showing symptoms but kept forgetting to get tested. No insurance, he'd admitted when I pressed. They'd let it lapse to help Chloe with her post-divorce expenses. That's when I started developing my insulin delivery system. Nights, weekends, every spare moment went into research. If patients could get a month's supply in one affordable dose, if we could eliminate daily injections, if we could make it stable without refrigeration. 3 years of work, 2 rejected prototypes, 1 breakthrough that changed everything. Now, 5 years after they'd cashed my bonds, I held the patent that would revolutionize diabetes treatment. The licensing offers were already coming in, millions up front, royalties that would dwarf any doctor's salary. And my parents were in my pharmacy, unable to afford insulin. I made my way downstairs, past the pictures of my medical school graduation they hadn't attended. Chloe was having a hard time, past the award I'd won for community service they didn't know about. The pharmacy was busy, but I spotted them immediately. Dad looked grayer, thinner, older. Mom clutched his arm like she was holding him upright. Dr. Anderson, the pharmacist called out. Your parents are here about Mr. Anderson's prescription. I approached the counter. What seems to be the problem? Natalie, Mom's face flooded with relief. Thank God, there's been a misunderstanding about Dad's insulin. No misunderstanding, the pharmacist said quietly. The prescription is $400 a month. Insurance denied coverage. $400? Dad's voice was weak. But I need it. My blood sugar is over 300, I said, glancing at his recent lab work on the screen. You've been diabetic for at least 2 years without treatment. We couldn't afford, Mom started. To see a doctor, yes, I figured. Too busy helping Chloe maintain her post-divorce lifestyle? That's not fair, Mom protested. She lost everything. She lost a marriage that lasted less than a year. I lost my financial security for a lifetime. But we're not here to discuss Chloe. Can you help? Dad asked directly. The medication. Can you help? I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who'd cashed my bonds without blinking. Who'd chosen Chloe's one perfect day over my entire future. Who'd literally sold my tomorrow for her today. The pharmacy has payment plans, I said professionally. There are also patient assistance programs, generic options. The financial counselor can walk you through everything. Natalie, please, Mom begged. He's your father. He was my father when he emptied my savings bonds. That didn't stop him. That was different. You're right. It was different. I was healthy, young, with a future you could mortgage. He's sick, older, with a disease that will kill him without treatment. Much higher stakes. How can you be so cold? How could you be so cruel? You took my money for a party, Mom, flowers that died in a week, food that was forgotten, a band no one remembers, and now Dad might die because you can't afford medicine. We didn't know he'd get sick. No, you just knew I'd get buried in debt. That was acceptable. That was the price of Chloe's perfect day. Can you at least give us a discount? Dad asked. You work here. I own here. I corrected. This is my pharmacy. My practice. Built despite the debt you put me in. Their eyes widened. You own the building, the practice, the pharmacy. Turns out necessity really is the mother of invention, and desperation is its father. Then you can afford to help us, Mom said triumphantly. I can afford a lot of things. The question is whether I should. We're your parents. Were you my parents when you stole my bonds? When you mortgaged my future for Chloe's wedding? When you chose her wants over my needs? We've apologized. No, you haven't. Not once. You've justified, explained, defended, but never apologized. Silence fell between us. Other customers pretended not to stare. I'm sorry, Dad said quietly. We're sorry. We shouldn't have taken your money. Because you need my help now? Or because it was wrong? Both, he admitted. It was wrong, and we need help. At least he was honest. I pulled out my prescription pad, wrote quickly, take this to the financial counselor. It's approval for our hardship program. Insulin at cost, about $40 a month. Natalie, but, I continued, there are conditions. First, you'll participate in our diabetes education program, every class, every session. Second, you'll volunteer here 20 hours a month, helping other patients navigate insurance and assistance programs. Third, you'll write a letter to my medical school, explaining why you believe parent financial interference should be considered in scholarship applications. That's humiliation, Mom protested. That's accountability. Take it or leave it. We'll take it, Dad said quickly. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank the patients you'll be helping, the ones whose families didn't sacrifice their health for a party. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and the patent I was signing when you arrived? It's for a new insulin delivery system. 1 dose monthly, shelf-stable, affordable. It'll help millions of diabetics worldwide. That's wonderful, Dad said weakly. It is, and it exists because I couldn't afford to take the easy path after graduation, because my debt forced me into clinics where I saw real need, because your choice to fund Chloe's wedding led me to patients who couldn't fund their survival. So we helped? Mom asked hopefully. No, you hurt. I just refused to let that hurt define my limits. Will you ever forgive us? Dad asked. I forgave you the day I realized your choices freed me from feeling obligated to you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it definitely doesn't mean enabling. We're not asking for enabling, aren't you? You came here expecting your daughter the doctor to fix the mess you made, just like you expected me to sacrifice for Chloe's mess. The pattern continues. We've learned our lesson, Mom insisted. Have you? Where's Chloe today? They exchanged glances. Shopping. There's a sale at Nordstrom. I laughed, actually laughed. Of course she is. Still spending money you don't have on things she doesn't need while Dad rations insulin. Nothing's changed. She's been through a lot. We've all been through a lot. The difference is, some of us used it to grow. I left them there with their prescription and their conditions. Back in my office, I looked at the patent application again. Years of work, born from years of struggle, created by the necessity they'd forced on me. My phone buzzed. Chloe. How dare you humiliate Mom and Dad like that, making them volunteer like common. I hung up and blocked her number. I had no interest in her outrage or her adjectives. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd cashed my bonds to pay for her wedding, a union that failed spectacularly. Now I was providing Dad's medication at cost, a union of doctor and patient that would save his life. One investment in vanity, one investment in humanity. The returns spoke for themselves. That night, I called my broker. I want to set up a fund for medical students whose families have raided their education savings. Full ride scholarships for those who can prove financial interference. That's very specific. It's very necessary. Some families see their children's savings as communal property. Those students need protection. Speaking from experience, speaking from expertise, my parents cashed my bonds for my sister's wedding. Now they can't afford insulin, but you're helping them? At cost, with conditions. Because that's what doctors do, we heal, even when it hurts. And the sister? Still shopping while they struggle. Some people never learn, but you did. I learned that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who invests in your dreams versus who cashes them out for their own purposes. I hung up and returned to my work. Somewhere out there, another medical student was watching their family drain their future for someone else's present. But maybe, just maybe, my scholarship would catch them. Because she only gets married once? Well, you only get one chance to protect your future from those who would sell it for flowers from Holland. And sometimes, the best medicine is prevention. Even if it comes 5 years too late for yourself.
The phone buzzed again, the 4th time in an hour. I didn't need to check the caller ID to know it was Gareth. My fingers hovered over the screen before I finally gave in and answered. Quinn, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all morning. His voice carried that familiar urgency that always preceded a request for money. I'm Quinn Fisher, and I've spent the last decade being my younger brother's personal bank. The irony? I work as an accountant, watching other people's money grow while my own savings account bleeds dry from family emergencies. I'm at work, Gareth. What is it this time? I tried keeping my voice neutral, though my coworkers probably noticed me gripping my coffee mug a little too tightly. It's just, I'm in a bit of a situation. The bank's threatening to repossess the car, and Tatum doesn't know. I need 8 grand by Friday. The mug nearly slipped from my hand. $8,000? Are you kidding me? What happened to the money I lent you last month for the mortgage? Look, things got complicated. Some investments didn't pan out. Investments? I cut him off, my voice rising. You mean gambling? They weren't games of chance, Quinn. I had insider information. Which makes it worse. I massaged my temples, aware of my colleagues, pretending not to listen. Gareth, I can't keep doing this. I'm not made of money. You're single with no kids. Where else does your money go? The entitlement in his voice made my blood boil. Besides, it's what family does. Mom and Dad would have wanted us to look out for each other. The parent card. He always played it when backed into a corner. Don't bring them into this, I warned, standing up and walking to the break room for privacy. They wouldn't have wanted you gambling away your daughter's college fund. So you're not going to help? His tone shifted from pleading to accusatory. Real nice, Quinn. Real nice. You know what? This is why you're alone. You're nothing but a selfish spinster who cares more about her bank balance than her own family. The words hit like a physical blow. Before I could respond, he hung up. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Nicole. Lunch? You look like you could use a break. I glanced through the break room window to see my best friend waving from her desk across the office. Working at the same firm had its perks. 20 minutes later, we sat at our usual corner table at Mario's, where Nicole waited patiently for me to spill. $8,000, I finally said, stabbing at my salad. That's what he needs this time. Please tell me you're not considering it. Nicole leaned forward, her fork frozen midway to her mouth. I don't know what to do anymore. He's my brother, Nicole. If I don't help him, Tatum and the kids could end up homeless. And if you do help him, you'll be enabling him. Again. She set down her fork. How much have you given him over the years? I did the mental calculation and felt sick. Close to 90,000. Jesus Christ, Quinn. That's a down payment on a house. I know. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. But every time I try to say no, he brings up our parents or guilt trips me about being single and childless, like that somehow makes my money less valuable. He called you a selfish spinster, didn't he? Nicole's eyes narrowed at my expression. That little shit. You know what? Let him lose the car. Let him face consequences for once in his life. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Gareth. I'm sorry about what I said, but I really need your help. Please don't let me down. The worst part? I showed Nicole the text. He's not sorry about what he said. He's sorry he might not get the money. Then don't give it to him. Nicole reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're not responsible for his bad decisions. But what about Tatum? The kids? Maybe it's time they knew the truth about their family's finances. Nicole checked her watch. We should head back. But Quinn, promise me you'll at least think about saying no this time. I nodded, but my mind was already racing through possibilities. The lakeside property our parents left us came to mind. Gareth's share was still in my name because he'd been too irresponsible to manage it. Maybe it was time to make some changes. As we walked back to the office, another text came through. I need an answer by tonight. Don't let your family down again. Something inside me snapped. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Maybe it was time to show my dear brother exactly what letting family down looked like. That evening, I found myself digging through the filing cabinet in my home office, pulling out folders of receipts and bank statements. Each piece of paper told the same story, my brother's endless financial drain on my life. The doorbell rang, making me jump. I opened it to find Carmen, our old family friend and neighbor, holding a casserole dish. Thought you could use some dinner, she said, pushing past me into the kitchen. Nicole called, said you were having a rough day. I managed a weak smile. She shouldn't have bothered you. Nonsense. Carmen started pulling plates from my cupboard like she owned the place. Now sit down and tell me what that brother of yours has done this time. Over Carmen's famous lasagna, I recounted the day's events. She listened quietly, her expression growing darker with each detail. Remember when Gareth first came to you for money? She asked, refilling my wine glass. Right after your parents' funeral? $5,000, I said automatically. He said it was for Tatum's medical bills. And what was it really for? I pushed my food around the plate. Sports betting, I found out 6 months later when his bookie showed up at my door. Carmen set down her fork with a clang, and that time he swore he needed money for his daughter's braces. Poker tournament in Vegas. The memories were flooding back now. Or when he claimed his car was totaled. But it wasn't, was it? No. He'd sold it to cover other debts and needed money for a new one. I took a long sip of wine. God, I've been such an idiot. Not an idiot, Carmen corrected. Just someone who loves her brother too much for her own good. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Gareth. Still waiting for an answer. The bank needs the money by Friday. Carmen read the message over my shoulder and snorted. The bank or his bookie? Does it matter anymore? I stood up and started pacing. He's never going to change, not as long as I'm his safety net. So remove the net. I stopped pacing. What? Remove the net, Carmen repeated. Let him fall. Sometimes hitting rock bottom is the only way people learn to climb. I resumed my pacing, but slower now. He'll hate me. He already takes advantage of you. What's worse? Before I could answer, my heel caught on the corner of an old box, sending papers scattering across the floor. As I bent to collect them, a familiar blue folder caught my eye. The lake house deed, I whispered, pulling it out. Carmen leaned forward. The property your parents left you both? Yes, but... I flipped through the documents, my hands shaking. They put it in my name because Gareth was going through his divorce from his first wife. We were supposed to transfer his half once things settled, but you never did, Carmen finished, understanding dawning on her face. I stared at the papers, an idea forming. The property's worth at least $500,000, maybe more now. Enough to cover all his debts, Carmen said slowly. And then some? My phone buzzed again. Quinn, answer me. Don't be selfish. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. You know what's funny? He's never once thanked me. Not really. It's always been about what I owe him, what I should do as family. Carmen watched me carefully. And what do you think you should do? I picked up my phone and opened my contacts, scrolling until I found Dante, the real estate agent who'd helped me buy my condo. Quinn? Carmen's voice held a note of concern. I'm doing what family does, I said, pressing the call button. I'm looking out for him. One last time. Dante answered on the second ring. Quinn, long time no hear. Hi, Dante. Remember that lakefront property I mentioned a while back? I think I'm ready to sell. There was a pause on the other end. The whole property? Both shares? Yes, I said, my voice stronger than I expected. All of it. Well, actually, Dante's voice took on an excited edge. I might have a buyer already interested. Developer's been eyeing that area for months. I caught Carmen's eye, saw her slight nod of approval. Perfect, I said. How quickly can we make this happen? If you're serious, we could have papers drawn up by Friday. Friday? The same day Gareth needed the money. The universe had a sense of humor after all. Let's do it, I said, ignoring the way my hands trembled. Send me the paperwork tomorrow. After hanging up, I finally replied to Gareth's text. Don't worry, I'll have your money by Friday. Carmen stood up, gathering her dishes. You know there's no going back from this, right? I looked at the deed in my hands, thinking of all the summers we'd spent at that lake house as kids, before Gareth learned to manipulate, before I learned to enable. Some bridges, I said quietly, need to burn. The next morning, I met Nicole and her brother Adam at our usual coffee spot before work. I needed level heads to talk me through what I was about to do. You're actually going to sell it? Nicole leaned forward, her cappuccino forgotten. The whole property? Already in motion. I pulled out the preliminary paperwork Dante had emailed. The developer is offering $600,000. Adam whistled low. That's a lot of burning bridges. More like nuclear warfare, Nicole added, scanning the documents. Gareth's going to lose his mind when he finds out. He lost his mind years ago, I said, taking back the papers, along with about 90,000 of my dollars. A text buzzed through. Gareth again. Got the bank breathing down my neck. You said you'd have the money by Friday? I showed them the message. Adam's expression darkened. Does he ever ask how you are? Or is it always about money? Take a wild guess. I typed back a quick working on it before putting my phone away. Have you thought about Tatum? Nicole asked carefully. She has no idea about any of this, does she? The guilt I'd been suppressing bubbled up. No, Gareth's kept her in the dark about everything, the gambling, the debts, the money he's borrowed from me. Then maybe this is the wake-up call they both need, Adam said firmly. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face reality. My phone rang. Dante this time. I stepped outside to take the call. Quinn, great news. His voice crackled with excitement. The developer wants to move fast. They're offering cash and they'll cover all closing costs. We could close by Thursday. My heart skipped. Thursday? That's tomorrow. Too soon? We can push it back. No, I said quickly. Thursday's perfect. Send me whatever you need signed. Back inside, Nicole and Adam were deep in conversation, but fell silent when I returned. What? I asked, noting their expressions. Adam had an idea, Nicole said slowly, about what to do with the money after paying off Gareth's debts. Adam cleared his throat. You should invest the rest. For your future. No more sacrificing everything for someone who gives nothing back. He's family, I said automatically, then caught myself. God listened to me. Still making excuses. Old habits. Nicole said gently. But maybe it's time for new ones. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from Tatum. Quinn, is everything okay? Gareth's been acting strange, says you're helping with some financial stuff. I showed the others. What do I even say to that? Nothing yet, Adam advised. Let things play out. She needs to hear the truth from her husband, not her sister-in-law. Speaking of truth, Nicole added, you should probably warn Carmen. She's still their neighbor at the lake house, right? I nodded, already pulling up Carmen's number. She answered immediately. The developer just made an offer, I said without preamble. We're closing tomorrow. A long pause. That fast? Is it too fast? No, she said firmly. Quick and clean, like ripping off a Band-Aid. But Quinn, I saw Tatum at the lake house yesterday. She was talking about their summer plans. My stomach lurched. They don't know they won't have access anymore. No, they don't. Carmen's voice softened. Are you sure about this? Before I could answer, Dante called again. Quinn, the developer's lawyer just sent over the final contracts. I'm emailing them now. Once you sign, there's no going back. I looked at Nicole and Adam, saw their encouraging nods. Send them through, I said, my voice steady. I'll sign them right away. After hanging up, I checked my email. There it was, the document that would change everything. My finger hovered over the download button. You know what this means, right? Adam said quietly. Once you sign, you're not just selling a property. You're forcing Gareth to face every choice he's ever made. And every choice I've enabled him to make, I added, clicking download. Maybe it's time we both faced some hard truths. Nicole squeezed my hand. Want us to stay while you sign? I shook my head. No, this is something I need to do alone. As they left, my phone lit up with one final text from Gareth. Thanks for coming through, sis. I knew I could count on you. I stared at the message, then at the contracts waiting for my signature. With steady hands, I picked up my pen. Sometimes being counted on meant doing the hard thing, not the easy one. You're welcome, little brother, I whispered and began to sign. The closing meeting felt surreal. I sat in Dante's office, watching as the developer's representative slid check after check across the polished conference table. One for the property, one for the furnishings, even one for leaving the boat in the boathouse. Just need your final signature here, Dante said, pointing to the last line. And it's done. My hand trembled slightly as I signed. $625,000. The property had been worth even more than we'd thought. Congratulations, the developer's rep said, standing to shake my hand. We'll begin construction next month. Construction? They were going to tear down our childhood home and build luxury condos. I forced a smile and excused myself, practically running to the bathroom. Nicole was waiting outside, having taken an extended lunch break to be there for moral support. You okay? No, I admitted, splashing water on my face. But I will be. Have you figured out how you're going to tell him? I dried my hands, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from Gareth. I'm not yet. First, I need to fix his mess. We headed straight to the bank where I transferred enough money to cover Gareth's car loan and his mortgage payments. Then to his credit card companies, clearing balance after balance. By late afternoon, I'd paid off every debt I knew about. That's $78,000, I said, staring at the remaining balance in my account. How does someone rack up that much debt without their wife knowing? Practice, Nicole replied dryly. Lots of practice. My phone rang again. Gareth. This time I answered. Quinn, where have you been? The bank's been calling all day about payments hitting my accounts. Did you rob a bank or something? Or something, I said quietly. All your debts are paid. Gareth, every single one. A long pause. How? Does it matter? Isn't this what you wanted? Yes, but he sounded confused, almost suspicious. Quinn, where did you get this kind of money? Maybe we should talk about that in person. Tomorrow? No, tell me now. What did you do? I took a deep breath. I sold the lake house. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, you what? I sold it. To developers. They're building condos. You can't, that's not, half of that property is mine. His voice rose with each word. Actually, no. The deed was in my name. Remember? We never transferred your half after your divorce? Because you said we didn't need to. He was shouting now. You said it didn't matter because we're family. And families are supposed to look out for each other, I said, my voice hardening. Not bleed each other dry. I'm calling my lawyer. Go ahead. The sale's already final. The property's being demolished next month. A crash on his end, something being thrown. You vindictive bitch. Does Tatum know? The kids? We were supposed to spend the summer there. Maybe you should have thought about that before gambling away their college fund. Another crash. I'm coming over. No, you're not. I surprised myself with how calm I sounded. We'll talk tomorrow when you've had time to process this. Process this? Process this? You just sold our family home. And you just lost it, I said quietly. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. For the first time in years, I felt free. Nicole touched my arm. You okay? No. I laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. But I think I will be. My phone started buzzing with texts. From Tatum. What's going on? Gareth's freaking out about the lake house. From Carmen. He just peeled out of his driveway like a madman. Want me to come over? From Adam. Nicole told me. Stay at our place tonight if you need to. Come on, Nicole said, taking my arm. Let's get you home. Adam's ordering pizza and we're having a sleepover. I should face him. Not tonight, she said firmly. Tonight you need to process what you've done. Tomorrow's soon enough for the fallout. As we drove to her place, I got one final text from Gareth. Hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. No, Gareth, you did that all on your own. I just stopped helping you hide it. Then I turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring what it would bring, but for tonight I'd done what needed to be done. The money was gone, the debts were paid, and the lake house. Well, sometimes you had to burn down the past to build a better future, even if that future came with luxury condos. The pounding on my front door started at 7 a.m. sharp. I'd barely gotten home from Nicole's, hadn't even made coffee yet. Open the damn door, Quinn! Gareth's voice carried through the wood. I know you're in there. I took a deep breath and opened it. Gareth burst in, Tatum right behind him. His eyes were bloodshot, his clothes rumpled like he hadn't slept. Tatum looked shell-shocked, clutching her purse like a shield. Tell her, Gareth demanded, gesturing wildly at his wife. Tell her what you did. I met Tatum's confused gaze. I sold the lake house. You had no right. Gareth slammed his fist against my wall. That property was half mine. Was it? I walked to my desk, pulled out a folder. Because these bank statements say otherwise. Would you like to explain them to Tatum? Tatum stepped forward hesitantly. What bank statements? Don't, Gareth warned me. No, I think it's time. I handed Tatum the folder. Every loan, every bailout, every time your husband came to me for money over the past 10 years, nearly $90,000 in total. Tatum's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. This can't be right. We don't have these debts anymore, Gareth cut in, because Quinn sold our family property without consulting anyone. Your gambling debts, I corrected. Your credit card debt, your car loans. Tatum's head snapped up. Gambling? It wasn't gambling, Gareth protested. They were investments. Sports betting is not investing. I pulled out more papers. Neither is poker or online casinos or whatever else you've been hiding from your wife. Tatum sank onto my couch, still clutching the statements. The kids' college fund. You said it was in a special high-yield account. Tatum, Gareth started, did you gamble away our children's future? Her voice was barely a whisper. The silence was answer enough. I paid it all off, I said quietly. Every debt, every loan. He's starting fresh. With money you stole from me, Gareth shouted. Money I protected from you, I shot back. What would you have done with your half, Gareth? Bet it on the next big game? The next sure thing? That's not. Then what was your plan? I stepped closer. Because the bank was about to repossess your car. Your mortgage was 3 months behind. Your credit cards were maxed out. What exactly was your plan? I would have figured something out. Like you always do. Tatum's voice cut through our argument. By going to your sister? By lying to me? She stood up suddenly, swaying slightly. Gareth reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't touch me. She pressed her hand to her forehead. I think I'm going to be... She didn't finish the sentence before her eyes rolled back and she crumpled. Gareth caught her before she hit the floor. Tatum? Baby? He lowered her to the couch, patting her cheeks. Wake up! I was already dialing 911 when her eyes fluttered open. I'm fine, she mumbled, trying to sit up. Just overwhelmed. The paramedics are on their way, I said, hanging up. I said I'm fine. But she looked anything but fine, her face ashen. You're getting checked out, Gareth insisted, his anger temporarily forgotten in concern for his wife. We sat in tense silence until the paramedics arrived. As they checked Tatum's vitals, my phone buzzed with a text from Carmen. Saw the ambulance. Everyone okay? Tatum fainted. I typed back. Being checked now. Low blood pressure, one paramedic announced. Probably stress-induced, but we should take her in for observation, just to be safe. As they helped Tatum onto the stretcher, she grabbed my hand. The lake house? It's really gone? I nodded. I'm sorry. I know you loved it there. Not as much as I loved believing my husband was honest with me. She let go, allowing the paramedics to wheel her out. Gareth followed, then turned at the door. This isn't over. Yes, it is. I met his gaze steadily. The money's gone. The property's sold. And your wife finally knows the truth. It's over, Gareth. You just don't know how to stop. You've ruined everything. No, I said softly. I just stopped letting you ruin me. He slammed the door so hard my windows rattled. Through them, I watched the ambulance pull away, Gareth's car following close behind. My phone buzzed again, Nicole this time. Just heard from Adam. Need company? I stared at the scattered papers, the evidence of a decade of enabling, of a lifetime of manipulation. No, I replied. I think I need to be alone right now. Sometimes the aftermath of a storm was quieter than the storm itself, but that didn't make it any less devastating. 3 days after Tatum's collapse, I sat in my garden, pulling weeds with perhaps more force than necessary. My phone had been suspiciously quiet. No calls from Gareth, no texts from Tatum. Just silence. You're going to kill those poor plants. Carmen's voice came from over the fence. She held up a bottle of wine. Need a break? Minutes later, we sat on my patio, the evening sun casting long shadows across the yard. Heard anything? Carmen asked, pouring generous glasses. Radio silence, but the gossip spreading. I took a long sip. My aunt called to tell me I'm heartless. 2 cousins unfriended me on Facebook. Even my mother's old bridge club is taking sides. And how are you holding up? Before I could answer, a car pulled into my driveway, Adam's SUV. He got out carrying a manila envelope. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, joining us on the patio, "but you need to see this." He pulled out a newspaper, our local weekly. There, in the business section, was a photo of the lake house with the headline, "Historic Lakefront Property to Become Luxury Development." "It's not the article you need to see," Adam said, flipping to the classifieds. "Look." There, in the employment section, was a small notice. "Position terminated. Gareth Fisher, Senior Account Manager." My stomach dropped. He lost his job. Apparently, the gambling wasn't just personal. Adam said quietly. He was placing bets from his work computer, using company time, company resources. Oh, God. I set down my wine glass before I could drop it. Did they press charges? No, but they're not giving him references either. He's basically unemployable in his field now. Carmen reached for the paper. Does Tatum know? She's staying with her sister, Adam said, taking some time to process everything, according to Nicole. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. A text from Tatum. Can we talk? Alone? She wants to meet, I told them, showing the message. Are you going to? Carmen asked. I have to. I typed back a quick response, suggesting a coffee shop downtown. Want backup? Adam offered. I shook my head. This is between us. An hour later, I sat in the coffee shop, watching Tatum approach through the window. She looked tired, older somehow, like the past few days had aged her years. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I ordered your usual. We sat in awkward silence until our drinks arrived. I found more statements, she finally said, pulling papers from her bag. Hidden in his golf bag. Credit cards I didn't know existed. Loans from people I've never heard of. Tatum? No, let me finish. She spread the papers on the table. All these years I thought we were doing well, planning for our future, our kids' futures. But it was all a lie, wasn't it? And you knew. I knew about the money he borrowed from me, I admitted. I didn't know about all this. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? She stared into her coffee. No, probably not. Another silence fell. He lost his job, she said finally. Did you know? I nodded. Just found out today. He's talking about suing you for the lake house. He won't win. I know. She looked up, her eyes wet. I'm not here about that. I'm here to say thank you. That caught me off guard. What? For forcing the truth out. For making him face consequences. For, she wiped her eyes, for doing what I should have done years ago. Tatum. I'm leaving him, she cut in. Not just staying with my sister, actually leaving. I've already talked to a lawyer. My coffee grew cold between my hands. Are you sure? The kids deserve better than a father who gambles away their future. I deserve better than a husband who lies to my face. She gathered her papers. I thought you should know. And I wanted to apologize. For what? For blaming you. When you sold the lake house, I thought you were being cruel. Now I realize you were being kind. In your own way. She stood to leave, and then paused. He's not the man we thought he was, is he? Either of us? I watched her walk away, thinking of the brother I'd grown up with. The one who used to protect me from schoolyard bullies, who taught me to swim in that lake we'd just sold. My phone buzzed. Gareth again. You've taken everything from me. No, I thought, putting the phone away without responding. You gave it all away, piece by piece, bet by bet. I just stopped pretending I couldn't see it happening. Sometimes love means letting someone hit bottom, even if you have to be the one who takes away their safety net. The demolition was scheduled for a Tuesday. I hadn't planned to go, but something pulled me to the lake that morning. I parked across the street, watching the construction crews set up their equipment. A tap on my window made me jump. Gareth stood there, looking worse than I'd ever seen him, unshaven, wearing the same clothes he'd had on at my house over a week ago. I rolled down the window. What are you doing here? Same as you, he said, his voice hoarse, saying goodbye. After a moment's hesitation, I got out of the car. We stood side by side, watching the crews work. Remember when Dad built that treehouse? Gareth asked suddenly. The one that fell down in that storm? You broke your arm trying to save your comic books from it. And you stayed with me in the hospital all night. He kicked at a stone. When did we stop being those people, Quinn? Around the time you started seeing me as an ATM instead of a sister. He flinched. I never. Don't. I turned to face him. Don't lie. Not here. Not now. The first crunch of machinery against wood made us both jump. The demolition had begun. Tatum's leaving me, he said quietly. I know. The kids, his voice cracked. She's filing for full custody. Says I'm unfit. Are you? He didn't answer immediately, watching as the excavator took another bite out of our childhood home. I need help, he finally whispered. Real help, not money. There's a gambling addiction program at the community center, I said. Free counseling, support groups. You've researched this? Of course I have. You're still my brother. A crash drew our attention back to the house. The entire east wall was gone now, exposing the kitchen where Mom used to make Sunday pancakes. I found a job, Gareth said. Nothing fancy. Stocking shelves at the hardware store. It's humbling. Good. That's it? Just good? What do you want me to say, Gareth? That I'm sorry? That I'll fix everything? No. He ran a hand through his unwashed hair. I want you to tell me how to start over when you've burned every bridge you ever had. You build new ones, I said simply. Better ones, stronger ones. The excavator moved to the west wing, our old bedrooms. Memories floated out with the dust. Midnight conversations through the wall, secret candy stashes, shared nightmares and dreams. I've been horrible to you, Gareth said suddenly. All these years, taking and taking. And then I called you. Those names. Said those things. Yes, you did. I don't deserve your forgiveness. No, you don't. He looked at me sharply. But that's not how forgiveness works, I continued. It's not about deserving it. It's about earning it every day with every choice you make from now on. A loud crack echoed across the lake as the main support beam gave way. The remaining walls collapsed in a cloud of dust and splinters. I don't know how to be better, Gareth admitted. Yes, you do. You're just scared to try. And if I fail, then you fail, but you do it honestly, without dragging everyone else down with you. The dust began to settle, revealing nothing but rubble where our house had stood. Gareth wiped his eyes roughly. Will you? He cleared his throat. Will you come with me? To the community center? I studied him carefully. To sign up for the program? Yeah. Today, if possible, before I lose my nerve. The construction crew was already clearing debris, preparing the land for its new future. Sometimes, I realized, you had to completely demolish something before you could rebuild it. Okay, I said, but I'm not paying for anything. Not anymore. I know. He managed a weak smile. I brought cash for the registration fee. Earned it honestly, too. As we walked to our cars, he paused. Quinn? I really am sorry. For everything. I know. I looked back at the empty lot. But sorry isn't enough anymore. Show me you mean it. Show Tatum. Show your kids. One day at a time. One choice at a time. He nodded, understanding finally showing in his eyes. As we drove away from the lake, I watched in my rearview mirror as the last pieces of our past were loaded into dumpsters. My phone buzzed, a text from Nicole. Everything okay? No, I typed back. But maybe, someday, it will be. Sometimes the hardest part of helping someone isn't the help itself. It's knowing when to stop helping so they can finally help themselves. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee and fresh pastries as I sat at the outdoor cafe, watching people hurry past. Nicole slid into the chair across from me, dropping a thick envelope on the table. The final paperwork from the developer, she said. All done. The condos are officially not your problem anymore. I picked up the envelope but didn't open it. Have you driven by recently? Yesterday. The foundation's already going in. She studied my face. Having regrets? No. Just, I gestured vaguely. Memories. Speaking of memories, Nicole nodded toward the street. Incoming. Gareth approached our table, looking markedly different from the last time I'd seen him. Clean-shaven, pressed shirt, clear eyes. He carried a small gift bag. Mind if I join you? I gestured to the empty chair. He sat, placing the bag in front of me. What's this? Open it. Inside was a small wooden box. I recognized the craftsmanship immediately. He'd made it in the hardware store's woodworking workshop. Open the box, he prompted. Inside was a check, not a large one, but significant. It's my first repayment, he said quietly. From my hardware store salary and the weekend moving jobs I've been taking, it's not much. Gareth, you don't have to. Yes, I do. His voice was firm. 6 months of sobriety chips don't mean anything if I don't make amends. Real ones. Nicole excused herself, giving us privacy. How's the program going? I asked, though I already knew. Carmen kept me updated through her weekly volunteer work at the community center. Hard, good, both. He stirred his coffee. Tatum brought the kids to my meeting last week, first time since everything. That's good. Yeah, we're talking about supervised visits. Maybe dinner once a week. He looked up. I'm not asking her to come back. I need to prove I can be reliable first, to them and to myself. A notification pinged on my phone. A news alert about the lake property development, Gareth noticed. Carmen sent me pictures of the construction. He said, it's strange seeing it change. Everything changes. Not everything. He pulled something from his pocket, a small worn photo. Us as kids, sitting on the lake house dock. Some things just get buried under years of bad choices. Gareth, let me finish. Please. He set the photo down. I've been talking about you in my meetings, about how you enabled me by always being there with money, but also how you saved me by finally saying no. How selling the lake house was the best thing anyone's ever done for me, even though I hated you for it at the time. And now? Now I understand that rock bottom has a purpose. It shows you what's real, what matters. He pushed the photo toward me. I found this while packing up my old office. Thought you might want it. I picked up the photo, remembering that day. Mom had just taught me to fish. Dad had promised Gareth he could drive the boat next summer. Keep it, I said, sliding it back. Put it somewhere you can see it every day. Remember who we were, who we can be again. You think we can? I think we're already starting to. My phone buzzed, a text from Carmen. Gareth's 6-month sobriety celebration tonight. You coming? I showed him the message. You don't have to, he said quickly. I know things are still. What time? He blinked. 7, at the center. I'll be there. He stood, emotion flickering across his face. Quinn, I know. I managed a small smile. Me too. After he left, Nicole returned. You okay? Getting there. I picked up the wooden box, running my fingers over its careful craftsmanship. He made this himself. Small steps. Better than no steps. My phone buzzed again, Tatum this time. Taking the kids to Gareth's celebration tonight. Want to sit together? I looked at the lake house demolition notice still lying on the table. The past was gone, bulldozed into memory. But maybe that's what we all needed. Clear ground to build something new. Want company tonight? Nicole asked. Actually, I said, typing a response to Tatum. I think I need to do this one with family. Because that's the thing about family. Real family. It's not about keeping score or holding grudges. It's about being there when someone's trying to rebuild, even if you're the one who had to tear everything down first. I picked up the wooden box, feeling its weight. Sometimes the heaviest things we carry aren't burdens at all. They're the first steps towards something better.
The trust fund was supposed to be my ticket to freedom. Instead, I watched it vanish into a sea of white tulle and overpriced flower arrangements at my cousin's wedding. I'm Caitlin, and this is how my family's betrayal became the catalyst for my revenge. You can't be serious. My voice trembled as I stared at my mother across our kitchen island. The marble countertop felt cold under my palms, grounding me in a moment that seemed surreal. Sweetie, you have to understand, Mum said, fidgeting with her coffee mug. Madeline's wedding is in 3 weeks, and Uncle Zach lost everything in that bad investment. We couldn't let her cancel. So you decided to cancel my future instead? The words came out sharp enough to make her flinch. That money was for my business startup. Grandpa left it specifically for me. It's just money, Caitlin. Family comes first. I laughed, but there was no humour in it. Family comes first? Then why am I always last? The sound of the front door opening interrupted us. Madeline waltzed in, wedding binder in hand, her perfectly manicured nails clutching a stack of fabric swatches. Her face lit up when she saw me. "Caitlin, perfect timing. I need your opinion on the table linens for the reception." My stomach churned. She had no idea she was planning her dream wedding with my dreams. "Did you tell her?" I asked Mom, my voice eerily calm. Mum's face paled. "Madeline, sweetheart, maybe we should—" "Tell me what?" Madeline's smile faltered. "That your fancy wedding is being funded by my trust fund, the money Grandpa left me to start my business." I watched the colour drain from her face. "Surprise?" "What?" "No, Dad said he took care of everything." Madeline's voice trailed off as realisation dawned. "Well, Uncle Zach certainly took care of it, with my money." The wedding binder slipped from Madeline's hands, scattering papers across the floor. "I had no idea, I swear. Caitlin, I would never— Save it." I pushed away from the counter. "I need some air." I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, but Mom caught my arm. "Please, let's talk about this. We can figure something out." I yanked my arm free. "Figure what out? How to magically replace $60,000, or how to undo the fact that my own mother went behind my back to raid my trust fund?" "You're being dramatic," she said, her tone shifting to that patronising voice she used when she thought I was overreacting. "Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family. Funny how I'm the only one making sacrifices around here." My sister Scarlett appeared at the top of the stairs, probably drawn by our raised voices. "What's going on?" "Ask Mom," I spat. "She's great at explaining how family works." I stormed out to my car, ignoring their calls. My phone buzzed repeatedly as I drove, but I didn't need to look to know it was them. Probably trying to justify their betrayal with more family-first nonsense. 3 hours later, I sat in my apartment with my laptop open, staring at a confirmation email for a one-way ticket to Seattle. My hands shook as I packed my essentials into 2 suitcases, leaving behind everything that reminded me of them. A soft knock at my door made me freeze. "Go away, Mom." "It's Hugh." I hesitated before opening the door. My cousin Hugh, Madeline's brother, stood there looking uncomfortable. "I heard what happened." "Come to defend your sister?" He shook his head. "What they did was wrong. Dad should have never asked for your money, and Aunt Solstice should have never agreed." "But they did." I turned back to my packing. "Where are you going?" "Away, far away from this mess." Hugh was quiet for a moment. "Will you come to the wedding?" I zipped my suitcase with more force than necessary. "Would you, if you were me?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. The next morning, I stood at the airport gate, my entire life condensed into 2 bags and a carry-on. My phone showed 15 missed calls and twice as many messages. I deleted them all without reading them. As I settled into my seat on the plane, I made myself a promise. I would build something better than any business I could have started with that trust fund. And when I did, when they saw what I achieved on my own, they'd realise exactly what they threw away. The plane took off, and I watched my hometown disappear beneath the clouds. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting ahead. And that's exactly what I intended to do. Seattle greeted me with its signature rain and a cramped Airbnb that smelled faintly of someone else's cooking. After 3 weeks of job hunting, countless interviews, and living off instant ramen, I was starting to question my impulsive decision to leave. My phone buzzed with another text from Scarlett. "Mum's a mess. Please just call her." I typed back, "Still busy settling in. Talk later." The same response I'd been giving for weeks. The coffee shop, where I'd been camping out to use their Wi-Fi, had become my second home. That's where everything changed. "You've been here every day this week," the barista said, sliding my usual Americano across the counter. "Job hunting." "That obvious." She smiled. "I'm Amanda, and trust me, I've seen that look before. What field?" "Tech, project management specifically. I took a sip of my coffee, though at this point I'd consider anything that doesn't involve asking if someone wants fries with that. Actually, Amanda glanced around before lowering her voice. My brother works at Horizon Tech. They're desperately looking for a junior project manager. Want me to put in a word? 2 days later, I sat across from David, the hiring manager at Horizon Tech, trying not to fidget in my carefully chosen interview outfit. "Your resume is impressive," he said, "but there's a gap in your employment history. Why'd you leave your last position so suddenly?" I prepared for this question. I needed a change. Seattle's tech scene offered opportunities I couldn't find back home. Honest answer? He leaned forward. The real one? I met his gaze. My family made some choices that affected my career plans. Instead of letting it defeat me, I decided to rebuild somewhere new. I'm here because I want to prove something to myself more than anyone else. He nodded slowly. Tell me about the most challenging project you've managed. I launched into my prepared example, but he cut me off. No, not work. Tell me about moving here, planning, execution, obstacles. Treat it like a project. For the next 20 minutes, I broke down my cross-country move like a case study. Resources, timeline, risk management, contingency plans. David's expression remained neutral until I finished. Then he smiled. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. When can you start? Walking out of Horizon Tech with a job offer, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Madeline. The wedding's in 2 days. There's still time to come. Please? I deleted it without responding and called my new landlord instead. The apartment I'd viewed yesterday wasn't perfect, but it was within walking distance of Horizon Tech, and more importantly, it was mine. 3 days into my new job, I was drowning in documentation and loving every minute of it. My desk neighbour, Rachel, became my unofficial mentor. You're catching on fast, she said, peering over my shoulder at my project timeline. But you might want to add some buffer time here and here. She pointed at the screen. Trust me, developers always need more time than they claim. Speaking from experience? Let's just say I've learned the hard way. She grinned. Hey, a bunch of us are grabbing drinks after work. Want to join? That evening, sitting at a bar with my new co-workers, I checked my phone out of habit. A new email from Mom waited in my inbox. The wedding was beautiful. Madeline looked perfect. I wish you'd been there. We all did. Please come home for Sunday dinner this week. We can talk about helping you start over here. I set my phone face down on the bar. Bad news? Rachel asked. Just family stuff. Want to talk about it? I shook my head. I'd rather hear about this nightmare project you mentioned earlier, the one with the impossible deadline. As Rachel launched into her story, I felt something shift inside me. Here, nobody knew me as the girl whose family stole her trust fund. Nobody pitied me or tried to justify what happened. I was just Caitlin, the new project manager who asked smart questions and stayed late to learn the systems. Back in my new apartment that night, I sat at my tiny IKEA desk and opened my laptop. My savings account balance was painfully low after the move and apartment deposit, but my first paycheck would hit next week. I created a new spreadsheet and titled it Success Plan. Under it, I typed my first goal, prove them all wrong. The wedding was over. My cousin had gotten her perfect day with my money. But sitting there, planning my future in a city where nobody knew my past, I realised something important. Sometimes the best opportunities come disguised as betrayals. I closed my laptop and smiled. This was just the beginning. 6 months flew by in a blur of deadlines, late nights, and increasingly impressive project deliverables. I just finished presenting my latest success to the executive team when David called me into his office. Close the door, Caitlin. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Do you know why you're here? My heart raced. The Thompson account. 3 months ago, that account was hemorrhaging money. Today, they're our biggest success story. He slid a folder across his desk. Which is why I'm recommending you for senior project manager. I stared at the folder. But that position usually requires... 5 years of experience? Yeah, but you've accomplished more in 6 months than most people do in 3 years. He leaned back. The promotion comes with a substantial raise. Think you can handle it? I thought about the trust fund, about how my family had thought I couldn't handle running my own business. When do I start? Later that evening, my phone lit up with Scarlett's face. Unlike the rest of the family, I still answered her calls. "You'll never believe what happened," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "What's up?" "I'm engaged. Jake proposed last night and—" She paused. "And I want you to be my maid of honor." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Scarlett, before you say no, hear me out. This isn't like Madeline's wedding. Jake and I are paying for everything ourselves. We're keeping it small, intimate." She took a breath. "And I miss you, Kate. We all do." "I got promoted today," I said instead of addressing the wedding. "Senior project manager." "That's amazing. Mum will be so—" "Don't tell her," I cut in, "or anyone else." Silence filled the line. "They feel terrible, you know, especially after what happened with Uncle Zach's business." "What happened?" "You haven't heard? The whole thing collapsed. They're selling their house. Madeline and her husband moved back in with Uncle Zach and Aunt Diana." I let that sink in. Karma had a weird sense of humour. "Caitlin?" Rachel stuck her head into my office. "Client call in 5 minutes. "I have to go," I told Scarlett. "About the wedding. Let me think about it." The next morning, I arrived early to find David waiting by my office. "Remember that impossible project I mentioned yesterday?" He didn't wait for my response. "It just became more impossible. Client wants to move the deadline up by 6 weeks. I smiled. "Give me an hour to revise the timeline." "That's why you're the best." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and your new salary takes effect immediately." I pulled up my banking app during lunch. The numbers made me blink twice. My new monthly salary was more than what remained of my trust fund would have been. Rachel dropped into the chair across from my desk with 2 coffees. "Celebrating the promotion?" "Something like that." I closed the app. "My sister just got engaged." "That's great. When's the wedding?" "I don't know if I'm going." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Family drama?" "You could say that." I took a sip of coffee. The last wedding I was supposed to attend didn't end well. Want to talk about it? For the first time since arriving in Seattle, I did. I told her everything. The trust fund, the betrayal, my escape. "Damn," she said when I finished. "No wonder you work like you have something to prove." "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who recognizes the signs." She smiled. "I did the same thing after my divorce, threw myself into work, avoided anything that reminded me of my ex. It worked until it didn't." "What do you mean?" "At some point you have to decide if you're working this hard for yourself or to prove them wrong. One drives you forward, the other just keeps you angry." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Hugh. Got your number from Scarlett. We need to talk about the family. It's important." I showed Rachel the message. "Looks like the universe is trying to tell you something," she said. "Yeah, that karma's real." I put my phone away. "The family that took my trust fund is in financial trouble. Poetic, right?" Rachel stood, gathering her empty coffee cup. "Just remember, revenge might feel good for a moment, but it doesn't pay your bills or make you happy. Your success here?" She gestured around my office. "That's all you. Don't let them take credit for that, even as motivation." As she left, I looked at Hugh's message again. 6 months ago, I'd fled with nothing but determination and spite. Now I had everything I'd wanted: respect, success, independence. And soon I'd have something even better: the chance to say no when they needed my help. The call from Uncle Zach came on a rainy Tuesday evening, just as I was leaving the office. "Caitlin?" His voice sounded older, more strained than I remembered. "Do you have a minute?" I sat back down at my desk. "I'm surprised you still have my number." "Look, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from," he cleared his throat, "but we need your help." "We?" "The family. Things Things haven't been good since you left. I laughed softly. And whose fault is that? Mine. The admission caught me off guard. I made a terrible mistake with your trust fund, and then I made an even worse one with our family business. I heard about that. I kept my voice neutral. Scarlett mentioned you're selling the house. We have to. The bank's foreclosing next month. A pause. Madeline and Tom moved back in. They couldn't afford their rent after everything. That must be awkward, I said, thinking of their lavish wedding. All those expensive wedding gifts crammed into your guest room. He ignored the jab. We need a loan, Caitlin, just enough to keep the house until I can sort things out. How much? 50,000. I nearly dropped my phone. That's less than what you took from me. I know, his voice cracked. And I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, but right now, we're desperate. Rachel appeared in my doorway, coat in hand. She mouthed, "Dinner?" But I shook my head. "Why me?" I asked. "Why not ask Mom?" "Solstice." He sighed. "She's not in a position to help. None of us are. But Scarlett mentioned you got a good job in Seattle." "Of course she did. I'll think about it." "Please, Caitlin, we can set up a payment plan." I said I'll think about it. I hung up before he could respond. Rachel was still waiting. "Everything okay? Remember when we talked about karma?" I grabbed my coat. "Let's get dinner. I need advice." Over Thai food, I told her about the call. She listened without interrupting, using her chopsticks to push rice around her plate. "So," she said finally, "what are you going to do?" Part of me wants to tell them to figure it out themselves. I stabbed at my pad thai. Like I had to. And the other part? Wants to help, then hates myself for wanting to help. My phone buzzed. A text from Madeline. "Uncle Zach told me he called you. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but please help us. I'm pregnant, Caitlin. I can't raise a baby in a motel." "Wow," Rachel said, reading over my shoulder. "They're really pulling out all the stops." "You think she's lying?" "Does it matter? Either way, it's manipulation." I pushed my food away. "What would you do?" "I'd invite them to visit." She held up a hand when I started to protest. "Hear me out. Right now, they're imagining you in some entry-level job, barely getting by. They're asking for help because they don't know you don't need them anymore. Show them." "You want me to rub my success in their faces?" "I want you to make an informed decision. See them face to face. Let them see what they lost when they betrayed you." She grinned. "Plus your new place is gorgeous. The view alone might give Uncle Zach a heart attack." She had a point. My recent promotion had allowed me to move into a luxury apartment overlooking the city. The rent was more than my parents' mortgage. I picked up my phone and typed, "Come to Seattle this weekend, all of you. We'll talk about the loan in person." The responses came quickly. Mom, "Really? Oh, sweetheart, thank you." Uncle Zach, "We'll be there. Send the address." Madeline, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Only Hugh's response gave me pause. "Be gentle with them, cousin. They're not the same people who hurt you." I looked at Rachel. "Am I making a mistake?" "Depends on what you want out of this." She signalled for the check. "Revenge, closure, reconciliation." "I want them to understand what they did, what it cost them." I thought about my new office, my view, my success. "I want them to see who I became without them." "Then show them." She handed her card to the waiter. "Just remember what I said about working for yourself, not against them." That night, I stood at my floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the Seattle skyline. 6 months ago, I'd arrived here broken and angry. Now, I was about to face my family from a position of power. I opened my laptop and booked 4 hotel rooms at a modest chain hotel nearby. Not too cheap, not too expensive, just comfortable enough to make what came next feel worse by comparison. The game was about to begin, and this time I held all the cards. The doorman called up exactly at 7. "Miss Caitlin, your family is here." "Send them up." I smoothed my designer dress, 3 months' salary at my old job, pocket change now, and waited. The elevator dinged, and there they were. Mum looked thinner, worry lines creasing her forehead. Uncle Zach's confident swagger had vanished, replaced by stooped shoulders and a grey pallor. Madeline's expensive highlights had grown out, showing mousy brown roots. Hugh hung at the back, watching me carefully. "This is... wow." Mum stepped into my apartment, eyes wide. "Honey, this is incredible." "Nice view," Hugh said quietly. Madeline pressed her hand against the floor-to-ceiling windows. "You can see the whole city from here. Would anyone like a drink?" I moved to my wine fridge. "I have an excellent Cabernet, though water for you, Madeline, given your condition." She flushed, one hand moving to her still flat stomach. "You heard? You texted me, remember?" I poured the wine, watching their reflections in the window. 3 months along, is it? 2, she mumbled, accepting a water glass. I handed Uncle Zach his wine, noting how his hand trembled slightly. "Shall we sit? We have a lot to discuss." They settled onto my Italian leather sectional, another recent splurge. Mum kept touching things, as if confirming they were real. "You've done well for yourself," Uncle Zach said, attempting his old authoritative tone. "I have." I sat across from them. "No thanks to any of you." The silence that followed was deafening. "Caitlin," Mum started, "we know we hurt you." "Do you?" I set my wine down. "Do you know what it's like to start over with nothing? To eat ramen for weeks because you can't afford real food? To wonder if you've made the biggest mistake of your life?" "We never meant," Madeline began, "to steal my trust fund, to destroy my dreams, to betray me." Each question made them flinch. "What exactly didn't you mean to do?" Hugh leaned forward. "We're here to make it right." "With what money?" I laughed. "The business is gone. The house is being foreclosed. Madeline's living in your old bedroom with a baby on the way. What exactly are you offering?" "Our apology," Mum whispered, "for everything." I stood and walked to the windows, looking out at my city. "Did you know I'm a senior project manager now, youngest in the company's history?" "That's wonderful," Mum said, hope creeping into her voice. "My salary is triple what that trust fund was worth." I turned to face them. "I did that without your help, without your support, without your belief in me." Uncle Zach set his untouched wine down. "We need $50,000, Caitlin. We can work out a payment plan." "Like you did with my trust fund?" The words came out sharp as knives. "How did that work out?" Madeline started crying softly. Mum moved to comfort her, but she shrugged away. "No, Mom, Caitlin's right." Madeline wiped her eyes. "We took everything from her, and now we're here asking for more." "Because you have nowhere else to go," I finished for her. Hugh stood up. "Look at them, Caitlin. Really look. Is this what you wanted? To see them broken?" "Sit down, Hugh." My voice was ice. "You don't get to play moral compass now. Where was your conscience when they took my money?" He sat. I walked to my home office and returned with a folder. "Inside is a contract. I'll loan you the $50,000. Hope bloomed on their faces. "But," I continued, "there are conditions. First, I want the loan repaid with interest. Second, I want a formal acknowledgement of what you did with my trust fund, notarized and legally binding. Third," I met each of their eyes, "I want you to understand that this doesn't make us even. This makes you indebted to me." Uncle Zach reached for the folder with shaking hands. "Whatever you want, we'll sign anything." "Dad," Hugh warned, but Zach waved him off. "No, she's right. We deserve this." I watched them read through the contract, heads bowed like penitents at confession. Mum's hands trembled as she signed. Madeline couldn't meet my eyes as she added her signature. Uncle Zach's scrawl was barely legible. Hugh read it last, his jaw tight. "This is brutal, Caitlin." "This is business." I collected the signed contracts. "I'll have my lawyer review these and transfer the money tomorrow. You can let yourselves out." "That's it?" Mum stood. "We came all this way for a contract signing?" I moved to the door and opened it. You came all this way because you needed something from me. Now you have it. Good night. They filed out one by one. Hugh paused in the doorway. Was it worth it, making them grovel? I thought about Rachel's words about working for yourself versus against others. Ask me tomorrow, I said, and closed the door. I couldn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m, I found myself at an all-night diner, stirring cream into mediocre coffee when Scarlett called. They told me what happened, she said without preamble. The contract, the conditions, all of it. And I don't recognize you anymore. Her voice cracked. The sister I knew wouldn't humiliate her family like this. The family I knew wouldn't steal my future. I watched the cream create patterns in my coffee. How's the wedding planning going? Don't change the subject. Mum's devastated. Mum's devastated? I laughed bitterly. Where was her devastation when she signed away my trust fund? A waitress appeared with a slice of pie I hadn't ordered. On the house, honey. You look like you need it. I waited until she left before continuing. They came to me for money, Scarlett, not to make amends, not to rebuild our relationship, for money. Because they're desperate. Uncle Zach's business failing wasn't their fault. No, but stealing my trust fund was. I pushed the pie around my plate. You know what the worst part is? They still don't get it. Even now, they think this is about the money. Isn't it? No. I set my fork down. It's about trust, about family, about believing in me enough to let me follow my dreams instead of sacrificing them for Madeline's perfect wedding. Silence filled the line. I'm still waiting for you to answer about being my maid of honour, Scarlett said finally. Are you going to pay for my dress with my trust fund too? That's not fair. None of this is fair. Several heads turned at my outburst. I lowered my voice. You stood by and watched them take everything from me. You didn't say a word. I was scared, she whispered. I didn't want to choose sides. But you did choose. Your silence was a choice. The diner door chimed. Hugh walked in, spotted me and headed straight for my booth. I have to go, I told Scarlett. Your wedding will be beautiful, just like Madeline's was. I hung up as Hugh sat down. How did you find me? I asked. Followed you. I had a feeling you wouldn't be sleeping. He ordered coffee when the waitress came by. Want to talk about what happened up there? Not particularly. Tough. He doctored his coffee with sugar, because we're going to. There's nothing to discuss. They needed money. I gave them conditions. They agreed. You didn't give them conditions, Caitlin. You gave them a public flogging. I pushed my plate away. They deserved it. Maybe. He leaned back. But is this really who you want to be? The person who kicks people when they're down? Like they kicked me? Yes, exactly like that. His eyes met mine. You're becoming what hurt you, and you're too smart not to see it. The waitress refilled our coffees without asking. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten. Did you know, Hugh continued, that Madeline tried to cancel the wedding when she found out about the trust fund? Mum and Dad talked her out of it, said it was too late, deposits were paid, it would shame the family. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand something. What they did to you was wrong, unforgivable even. But this revenge you're pursuing, it's not hurting them as much as it's hurting you. I thought about my beautiful apartment, empty except for expensive furniture, about my impressive job title that I couldn't share with my family, about the satisfaction I'd felt watching them squirm and how hollow it felt now. I worked so hard, I said quietly. Everything I have, I earned myself. I know. Hugh reached across the table and squeezed my hand. And that's amazing. But you did it for the wrong reasons. You did it to prove them wrong instead of proving yourself right. What's the difference? Look at yourself. Really look. Are you happy, Caitlin? Or are you just successful? The question hit harder than I expected. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Madeline. I know you hate me, but this baby, I want them to know their aunt, to know the strong, amazing person you are. Not the angry one we saw tonight, Please don't let what we did destroy who you really are. Hugh watched me read it. She means it, you know. It's not that simple. It never is. He stood and dropped money on the table for our coffee. But at some point, you have to decide, do you want to keep punishing them, or do you want to start healing? He left me sitting there, watching the sunrise through the diner's grimy windows, wondering when revenge had started feeling less like victory and more like chains. I found my family in the hotel lobby the next morning. They looked up as I approached, faces a mix of hope and apprehension. "We need to talk," I said, dropping into an armchair across from them, "about last night, about everything." Mum straightened. "The contract. Forget the contract." I pulled it from my bag and tore it in half. "This isn't about money anymore." Madeline's hand went to her stomach, a gesture I was starting to recognise. "What is it about then?" "Truth." I looked at each of them. "I want you to tell me why, not excuses, not justifications, why you really did it." Uncle Zach spoke first. "I was desperate. The business was failing, and Madeline's wedding. I convinced myself it was temporary, that I'd pay it back before you ever knew. But you didn't." "No." He looked down, "and when you found out, I was too ashamed to face it." "Mum?" She twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit I remembered from childhood. "I thought I was protecting the family, keeping peace. I told myself you were young, that you'd have other opportunities." Her voice cracked. "I was wrong, so terribly wrong." "Madeline?" My cousin wiped tears from her cheeks. "I was selfish. When Dad said he'd handle the costs, I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to know. And then when I found out..." She met my eyes. "I should have cancelled everything. Instead, I let them convince me it was too late." "It's never too late to do the right thing," I said quietly. Hugh, who'd been silent until now, leaned forward. "Your turn, Caitlin. Tell them the truth about Seattle." They all looked at me expectantly. "When I left, I was broken." The words came slowly. Not because of the money, but because my family, the people I trusted most, didn't believe in me enough to let me follow my dreams. "That's not true," Mum protested, "isn't it? You took my trust fund because you didn't think my business would succeed, because Madeline's wedding was more important than my future." No one spoke. "So I came here angry, determined to prove you wrong, and I did." I gestured around us. "I built everything you saw last night from nothing, but you know what? It feels empty." "Because you did it for revenge," Hugh said softly. "Because I did it for revenge," I agreed. "And now I have everything I thought I wanted, except the one thing that mattered most." "What's that?" Madeline asked. "Family." The word hung in the air. Real family, the kind that believes in each other, supports each other, doesn't betray each other. Uncle Zach stood abruptly. "I'll sell my car. It's not much, but it's a start." "Sit down." I waited until he did. "I'm not finished." Mum reached for my hand, but I pulled back. "What you did was wrong. Not just taking the money, but the way you did it. The lies, the justifications, the silence." I took a deep breath. "But what I did last night, making you grovel, humiliating you, that was wrong too." "You had every right," Madeline said. "No, I had reasons but not rights. There's a difference." Hugh smiled slightly. "So what now?" I pulled out my checkbook. "Now, I'm going to help you save the house. No contracts, no conditions." "We can't accept," Uncle Zach started. "You can and you will." I wrote the check. "Because that's what family does, but this time we do it right, with honesty, with respect, and with trust that needs to be rebuilt on both sides." Madeline burst into tears. Mum wasn't far behind. "There are conditions," I added, holding the check just out of reach. "Not legal ones, but important ones." They waited. "First, we start therapy, family counselling, all of us." I looked at their surprised faces. "Second, we talk about things. No more secrets, no more assumptions about what's best for everyone. And third," I turned to Madeline, "I want to be part of my niece or nephew's life, really part of it." She launched herself at me, hugging me awkwardly around her barely there bump. Done. All of it. Done. Mum joined the hug, then Uncle Zack. Hugh stood back, watching with satisfaction. "One more thing," I said when they finally let go. I turned to Scarlett, who'd been quietly watching from the hotel entrance. "Yes." "Yes?" She stepped closer. "Yes, I'll be your maid of honour, but I'm picking my own dress this time." She laughed through tears and joined our group hug. As we stood there, holding each other in that hotel lobby, I realised something. Revenge might feel good for a moment, but reconciliation, real, honest, hard-won reconciliation, that feels good forever. "So," Madeline sniffled, "want to help me pick out baby names?" For the first time in 6 months, my laugh was genuine. "As long as you promise not to steal them." The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the final payment notification from Uncle Zack. He'd insisted on repaying the loan, even though I'd told him it wasn't necessary. Small monthly transfers, never missing one, each with a note of gratitude attached. My phone buzzed with Madeline's latest ultrasound picture. "It's a girl," the message read. "Still voting for Caitlin as a name?" "Absolutely not," I texted back. "One Caitlin in the family is enough." Rachel appeared in my doorway with coffee. "Ready for the big presentation?" "Born ready," I gathered my materials. "But first I need your opinion on something." I pulled up a business plan on my screen, the same one I'd dreamed of funding with my trust fund, but better. Refined by experience, shaped by everything I'd learned. "A consulting firm?" Rachel leaned closer. "Wait, is this?" "The original dream, version 2.0. I scrolled through the projections. "But this time I'm doing it right, building it alongside my job here, not rushing in blind." "Have you shown your family?" "Family therapy session tonight." I closed the laptop. Thought I'd bring it up then. The session was held in a warm office with comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. Dr. Martinez had been working with us for 3 months, helping us navigate the rebuilding of trust. "Caitlin," she said as we settled in, "you wanted to share something today." I opened my laptop. "Remember my original business plan? The reason for the trust fund?" Mum tensed visibly. Uncle Zack looked at the floor. "I'm starting it." I turned the screen so they could see. "Not asking for money or support, just telling you, because that's what we do now. We share our dreams." "It's amazing," Scarlett said, scanning the numbers. "But can you manage this in your current job?" "That's the beauty of it. I'm not rushing this time, building slowly, learning from my mistakes and others." I looked at Uncle Zack. "Actually, I could use your advice about what not to do." He looked up, surprised. "You'd trust my business advice after everything?" "You failed. That doesn't erase 30 years of experience." I smiled slightly. "Plus, who better to help me avoid pitfalls than someone who's fallen into them?" Madeline shifted in her chair, one hand on her growing belly. "I want to help too. My marketing degree might be useful." "We could make it a family business," Mum suggested, then quickly added, "Only if you want, of course, no pressure." "Actually," I took a deep breath. "That's kind of what I was hoping for." Dr. Martinez leaned forward. "This is a significant step, Caitlin. Are you sure you're ready to mix family and business again?" "No." I closed my laptop. "But I'm ready to try. With boundaries this time. With contracts that protect everyone. With honest conversations when things get hard." "And with a kick-ass business plan," Hugh added, grinning. After the session, we gathered at my apartment. Mum brought dinner, her famous lasagna that I'd missed more than I'd admitted. As we ate, the conversation flowed naturally between wedding plans, baby names, and business strategies. "I have something for you," Uncle Zack said, pulling out an envelope. "The final loan payment plus interest." I pushed it back. "Keep it. Invest it in the new business instead." "Caitlin, I mean it." I looked around the table. What happened with the trust fund? It broke us, but it also made us stronger, made me stronger. I needed to prove myself, and I did. Now I need to prove I can trust again. Madeline raised her water glass. To new beginnings? To family, I corrected, raising mine. The kind that learns from mistakes instead of hiding from them. Later, as they were leaving, Mum lingered behind. I'm proud of you, she said. Not for the success or the money, for this. She gestured around. For finding a way back to us. Even though I made it as difficult as possible. Especially then. She hugged me. Because you did it your way, on your terms. That's the daughter I raised. After they left, I stood at my windows, looking out at the city that had given me refuge when I needed it most. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. How'd it go? I typed back, better than revenge. On my desk, the business plan waited. But now it wasn't just my dream anymore. It was a bridge, connecting who I'd been with who I'd become, connecting my family's past mistakes with our future possibilities. The sun set over Seattle, painting the sky in colours of hope. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's finding the strength to build something new from the ashes of what was broken. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you build something better than you ever imagined possible.
I knew something was off the moment David's hand lingered too long on the waitress's lower back. Most people wouldn't have caught it, just a brief touch as he squeezed past her to return to our table. But I've learned to spot the subtle signs. The way his fingers curved possessively, how his eyes followed her retreating form for just a heartbeat too long. My best friend Clara beamed at him from across the table, radiant in the soft lighting of her favorite restaurant. Thank you for such a perfect birthday dinner, honey. The candlelight caught the delicate silver necklace David had given her earlier, a beautiful piece that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I took another sip of wine, forcing a smile. The food is amazing, Clara, though I still say you should have let me host at my place like usual. And miss out on David's surprise? Clara reached for her husband's hand. He knows how much I love Bellinis. Remember when we had our first date here? David's answering smile didn't quite reach his eyes. I'd been noticing that more lately. The microscopic tells, the fractional delays in his responses. Little things that needled at my instincts, honed sharp by experience. How could I forget? He squeezed Clara's fingers. Though I think Shiloh here was skeptical about us at first. Can you blame me? I'm protective of my best friend. I kept my tone light, playful, even as I catalogued the way his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. The waitress returned with our desserts, Clara's eyes lighting up at the towering slice of tiramisu. I watched David watch the waitress, another lingering look, another ghost of a smirk. My phone buzzed, a text from Gabriella. Still on for coffee tomorrow. Need your advice on something. Earth to Shiloh. Clara's laugh pulled me back. You're a million miles away tonight. Sorry, work stuff. I tucked my phone away. You know how it gets this time of year. All you do is work. When are you going to let me set you up with someone? David's friend Marcus is single now. Clara, I shot her a warning look. We've talked about this. I just want you to be happy. Not everyone is like, don't. The word came out sharper than I intended. 5 years later, and Jason's betrayal still had teeth. David cleared his throat. More wine, ladies? He signaled the waitress before either of us could answer. I watched him charm her, watched the practiced ease of his flirtation, subtle enough to seem innocent, professional enough to pass as politeness. But I recognized the dance, had seen it before, had been burned by it before. Clara was telling me about her plans to redo their guest room, her face animated with excitement. I nodded along, trying to focus on her words instead of the sick feeling in my stomach. The way David's wedding ring caught the light as he handed the waitress his credit card, the too familiar curve of his smile. We should do this more often, Clara said as we gathered our things. I miss our regular dinners. Work's been crazy. I hugged her tight, breathing in her familiar vanilla perfume. But yes, let's plan something soon. David's arm slid around Clara's waist. Thanks for coming out tonight, Shiloh. Always good to see you. I met his gaze steadily. Wouldn't miss it. Outside, the autumn air was crisp with approaching winter. I watched them walk to their car, Clara tucked against David's side, her laughter floating back to me. They looked perfect together. They always had. My phone buzzed again at 2 a.m. Clara's name lit up my screen. Her voice was raw, broken. "Shiloh, I need you. Please. I think David is..." The rest dissolved into sobs. But I already knew. I'd seen it coming, had been watching the signs stack up like dominoes waiting to fall. I was already pulling on shoes, grabbing my keys. "I'm on my way. Just breathe, honey. I'm coming." The line went dead. I stood in my dark apartment, keys digging into my palm. The sick feeling from dinner had crystallized into something harder, colder. Because now I had a choice to make. I could be the supportive friend, help Clara pick up the pieces, or I could be something else entirely. David's smirk flashed in my memory. The waitress, the wedding ring, Clara's broken voice. My fingers brushed the recorder in my purse, the one I'd started carrying to meetings months ago, the one that had been running all through dinner. Sometimes being a good friend means getting your hands dirty, and I've never been afraid of a little dirt. The recording played for the third time, David's voice filling my darkened living room. "Just a matter of timing. Clara's too trusting, she'll never suspect. Once the merger goes through next month..." A woman's laugh, intimate and knowing. "You're terrible. That's why you love me." I stopped the playback, my hands shaking. 3 hours had passed since Clara's call, since I'd found her curled on her kitchen floor clutching her phone. The screen still showed the messages she'd discovered, dozens of them between David and his assistant, Rebecca. Photos, plans, promises. The irony of catching it all on my recorder felt like fate's twisted joke. I'd started carrying it after overhearing David on a suspicious call at work last week. Thought maybe he was up to something shady with the merger. Instead, I'd captured something far more personal. My phone lit up. Gabriella. I let it go to voicemail. She'd been trying to reach me since I'd texted that I was with Clara, probably worried I'd do something rash. She knew my history with Jason too well. A soft knock at my door made me jump. Clara stood there, mascara streaked down her cheeks, still wearing her birthday dress from dinner. "I couldn't stay in that house." I pulled her into a hug. "You don't have to." She collapsed onto my couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I keep thinking I must have read it wrong, that there has to be some explanation. My fingers tightened around the recorder in my pocket. I could show her right now, let her hear his betrayal in his own words. But the broken look in her eyes stopped me. "What did he say when you confronted him?" "He denied everything, said Rebecca's just a friend, that I'm being paranoid." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Maybe I am, maybe..." "Stop." I sat beside her, taking her trembling hands in mine. "Trust your instincts. Like you did with Jason." The name hit like a slap. "That was different." "Was it?" Clara's voice cracked. "You were so sure he was cheating. You followed him, gathered evidence, destroyed your relationship, and it turned out he was planning a surprise party." I pulled away, old shame burning hot. "This isn't about me. I know you're trying to protect me, but I can't just throw away my marriage based on some texts that might not mean what I think." My phone buzzed again, Gabriella's third attempt. She'd warned me about this too, how my past could color my judgment, make me see betrayal where it might not exist. But the recording burned in my pocket like a live coal. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. Clara's phone chimed. David's name appeared on her screen. She stared at it, tears falling fresh. "Don't answer it," I said. She reached for the phone. "He's my husband." "He's lying to you." "You don't know that." She stood suddenly, swaying slightly. "God, I shouldn't have called you. I knew you'd jump straight to the worst conclusion." "Clara, no, I love you, Shiloh, but you're not objective about this. Not after Jason." The recorder felt heavier with each passing second. One press of a button would prove everything. But Clara's words echoed in my head. Not objective. Jumping to conclusions. Seeing betrayal everywhere. She gathered her purse with shaking hands. "I need to go home. Talk to him properly. Please don't. I stepped between her and the door. Stay here tonight. Give yourself time to think. I can't. She hugged me briefly, her tears dampening my shoulder. Thank you for being here, but I need to handle this my way. The door clicked shut behind her. I stood frozen, the recording burning a hole in my pocket, my best friend's footsteps fading down the hall. My phone buzzed one final time. Gabriella. Whatever you're thinking of doing, sleep on it first. I pulled out the recorder, David's damning words just a button press away. Clara was walking into a trap, about to let him gaslight her into doubting her own instincts, just like Jason had almost done to me. Except I'd been wrong about Jason, catastrophically, unforgivably wrong. But this time was different. This time I had proof. I plugged the recorder into my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. One email could blow everything wide open. Send the recording to Clara, to their families, to the board of directors David was trying to deceive. The cursor blinked, waiting for my decision. Protection or destruction, truth or trust. The line between justice and revenge had never felt thinner. I opened a new email and started typing. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy, but Gabriella's expression was pure thunder. Tell me you didn't send that email. I stirred my untouched latte. I had to do something. Creating an anonymous account to send David's boss evidence of an affair. She leaned forward. That's not something, Shiloh, that's revenge. It's justice. The words sounded hollow even to me. I'd been up all night after hitting send, alternating between fierce satisfaction and gnawing doubt. He's using the merger to hide money from Clara. She deserves to know. And you think destroying his career is the way to tell her? My phone lit up. Clara again. I'd been dodging her calls since she left my apartment last night. He's destroying himself. I'm just speeding up the inevitable. Like you did with Jason. I slammed my cup down, coffee sloshing over the rim. Stop bringing him up, this is different. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm watching my friend make the same mistake twice. The bell above the door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Jason himself walked in, 5 years older but instantly recognizable. He hadn't seen me yet. Speak of the devil, Gabriella muttered. I slid lower in my seat, pulse racing. I need to go. Running away? That's new. Her sarcasm cut deep. I can't deal with him right now. Then deal with me. What's your endgame here? Best case scenario, David loses his job. Worst case, you lose Clara. I'm trying to protect her. No. Gabriella's voice softened. You're trying to protect yourself from watching someone else get hurt the way you thought you were hurt. Jason was ordering at the counter. Any second he'd turn and see me. My hands shook as I gathered my things. Clara called me this morning, Gabriella said. She and David talked all night. He showed her all his emails, his phone, gave her all his passwords. The sick feeling in my stomach intensified. He's covering his tracks. Or maybe you're seeing what you want to see. I stood abruptly, nearly knocking over my chair. Jason turned at the noise. Our eyes met across the cafe. Recognition, surprise, something else I couldn't name. Shiloh. He took a step toward me. I fled. Outside, the morning air did nothing to cool the burning in my chest. My phone buzzed again. A text from Clara. We need to talk, please. A reply from David's boss popped up. Anonymous allegations require substantial evidence. Recording appears edited. Matter closed. Shiloh, wait. Jason's voice behind me sent me walking faster, but his longer stride caught up easily. Just give me a minute, he said. Please. I spun to face him. What could you possibly have to say after 5 years? I'm sorry. The simple words knocked the wind from me. What happened between us, I handled it badly. Badly? I laughed bitterly. I accused you of cheating and you let me believe I was crazy for weeks. Because I was trying to keep the proposal a surprise. I never thought you'd destroy everything. My voice cracked. Trust me, I know exactly what I did. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I remembered too well. That's not... I should have just told you the truth. Watching you spiral, thinking the worst, I was wrong to let it go so far. My phone buzzed again. Clara, David showed me everything, including the email his boss got this morning. I know it was you. The world tilted sideways. All my certainty, all my righteous anger drained away, leaving only the hollow echo of the past. I have to go. I stepped back from Jason, from the weight of old mistakes. Shiloh, he caught my arm gently. Don't let what happened with us poison everything else in your life. You deserve better than that. I pulled away, but his words followed me down the street. My phone kept buzzing. Clara, Gabriella, now a message from David himself. We need to talk about what you're doing to my wife. The recording sat heavy in my bag, suddenly less damning than it had seemed last night. What if I was wrong again? What if I was seeing betrayal through the warped lens of my own past? Or what if I was right, and letting my guilt about Jason blind me to real danger? A new text lit up my screen. From Vicente, a colleague in IT. Found something interesting in David's company emails. Call me. My finger hovered over his name. One call could change everything, confirm my suspicions, or destroy them completely. I pressed dial. Vicente's voice crackled through my phone. These emails are encrypted, but there's definitely a pattern. Large transfers, offshore accounts, all tied to the merger. I paced my office, blinds drawn against the afternoon sun. Show me. Not over the phone. Meet me at Murphy's in an hour. A knock at my door made me jump. David stood in the doorway, his usual polished smile nowhere in sight. We need to talk. I ended the call, heart hammering. I'm busy. Too busy to discuss how you're trying to destroy my marriage. He closed the door behind him. The soft click felt like a trap springing shut. I'm not the one destroying anything. I gripped the edge of my desk, grateful for its solid barrier between us. No? He pulled out his phone. Let's see. Anonymous emails to my boss. Accidentally. Forwarding Clara old photos of me with my ex. Calling our wedding venue to cancel our anniversary dinner reservation. That last one wasn't me. The realization hit like ice water. I wasn't the only one watching him. Clara trusts you, he continued. God knows why, after what you did to Jason. My fingers twitched toward my bag, where the recorder sat waiting. Does she trust you showing up at my office unannounced? She knows I'm here. His smile returned, sharp as a blade. She's worried about you, Shiloh. We both are. This paranoid vendetta, seeing threats everywhere. Maybe you should talk to someone. The same words Jason had used, right before everything imploded. I forced my voice steady. I have a meeting. Of course. He stepped aside, but his next words froze me at the door. Just remember, Clara can only handle so many betrayals, even from her best friend. The hallway felt too bright, too exposed. I ducked into the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. My phone buzzed with the text from Clara. David told me he's talking to you. Please listen to him. I'm worried. Another from Vicente. Can't make Murphy's. Something came up. Be careful, someone accessed my computer. The walls seemed to close in. I needed air, needed to think. The elevator took forever, each floor bringing fresh waves of doubt. What if David was right? What if I was seeing conspiracies where there were none? The lobby doors opened to autumn sunshine, and Aidan, Clara's brother, waiting on the steps. Going somewhere. His usual warmth was missing. What are you doing here? Protecting my sister. He fell into step beside me. Remember when we were kids and that boy broke her art project? You convinced her to put purple dye in his shampoo. He deserved it. Maybe, but Clara got suspended too, because she trusted you more than her own judgment. I stopped walking. That was 20 years ago. And you haven't changed. He caught my arm. I've watched you do this before, Shiloh. With Jason, with your sister. You get an idea in your head and damn the consequences. You don't know what's really happening. I know Clara's crying every night. I know David's getting death threats at work. I know you're meeting someone named Vicente who's been digging through private company files. My blood ran cold. How did you... Because I've been watching too. His grip tightened. Whatever you think you found, whatever crusade you're on, stop, before you lose everything. Again. I yanked away. You're also worried about me destroying Clara's life. Has anyone considered I might be saving it? From what? A husband who adores her. A marriage that was perfect until you started seeing things. My phone buzzed. Vicente. Found something big. Meet tonight. Usual place. I have to go. I stepped back from Aiden, from his knowing eyes and painful truths. Shiloh. His voice followed me down the street. The difference between justice and obsession is knowing when to stop. But I couldn't stop. Not with Vicente's message burning in my pocket. Not with David's smirk playing on repeat in my mind. Not with the weight of all my past mistakes pressing down, demanding either redemption or repetition. My phone lit up one final time. An email from an anonymous account. I know what David's really doing, and I can prove it. Meet me at midnight. The sender's address looked familiar, the same format as the account I'd created to email David's boss. Someone else was watching. Someone else knew. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't seeing things. Unless I was. Unless this was exactly what everyone feared. Another spiral, another Jason, another bridge burned in the name of protecting someone who didn't need protection. The real question wasn't whether I could trust David, it was whether I could trust myself. The storage room smelled like dust and old coffee. Vicente's usual place turned out to be the basement of his favorite cafe, lit by a single bare bulb. He hunched over his laptop, fingers flying across the keys. Show me, I said. First, tell me why you're really doing this. He didn't look up. Because if this is about Jason... It's not. I leaned against a stack of boxes. Why are you helping me? His typing paused. Because 2 years ago, David Harrison ruined my sister's life. She found evidence of financial fraud at their company. He buried it, got her fired, blacklisted. She moved to Argentina to start over. The pieces clicked. That's why you've been tracking his emails. Looking for proof. He turned the screen toward me. Look at these transactions, all routed through shell companies, all tied to the merger. He's stealing millions. My hands shook as I scrolled through the documents. Dates, amounts, offshore accounts. A web of deception that went far beyond a simple affair. Clara's trust fund is mixed up in this, Vicente said quietly. He's using her money to cover his tracks. My phone buzzed, the anonymous emailer again. Midnight. Don't be late. I have to go. I straightened up. Send me copies of everything. Shiloh. Vicente's voice stopped me. Be careful. David's got powerful friends. The night air bit through my jacket as I walked. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since morning. Clara, Gabriella, Aiden, all trying to talk me down. All thinking they knew what this was about. But they didn't know about Vicente's sister, about Clara's money, about the depth of David's lies. The anonymous emailer had chosen a deserted park. I checked my phone, 11:58 p.m. The swings creaked in the wind, empty seats casting long shadows. Hello, Shiloh. I spun around. Deborah stood there, my sister, whom I hadn't spoken to in 3 years, not since I'd exposed her husband's gambling addiction to their entire family. What are you doing here? Stopping you from making my mistake. She stepped closer. I'm the one who's been emailing you. You've been watching David. I've been watching you. Her voice softened. The emails to his boss, the cancelled reservation, the desperate digging for proof. It's exactly what I did. And look where it got me. This is different. Is it? Or are you just better at justifying it? She pulled out her phone. Want to know what Clara texted me today? My throat tightened. You're talking to Clara. She's worried sick. Says you won't answer her calls, won't listen to reason. Says you're acting just like you did with Jason. Stop. I turned away. You don't know what David's really doing. Maybe not. But I know what you're doing. Destroying relationships, burning bridges, all in the name of justice. She caught my arm, just like I did. Your husband was stealing from you. Yes, and I was right, and being right cost me everything. Her voice cracked. My marriage, my friends, my relationship with you, all gone because I couldn't let it go, couldn't trust anyone else to handle it. My phone buzzed again. Vicente. David's accessing the files. He knows we looked. I have proof, I said. Real proof this time. That's what I said too. Deborah's grip tightened, right up until the moment I realized being right wasn't worth being alone. Another text. Clara, please come over. I need my best friend. Go home, Shiloh. Deborah released me. Before you end up like me. But I was already pulling up Vicente's files, turning the screen toward her. Look, really look. This isn't paranoia or revenge. Clara's in danger and she doesn't even know it. She studied the documents, her expression shifting. These transfers. He's stealing everything, using Clara's trust fund to cover his tracks. Just like Marcus did to me. She looked up, eyes sharp. You have a plan? Maybe. I hesitated. But I need help. No. She stepped back. I can't get involved. Not again. Deb, please. You're the only one who understands what's really at stake. Another text lit up my phone. David. We should discuss what you and Vicente found. Tomorrow. Alone. Deborah read it over my shoulder. I watched the familiar battle play out on her face. Protection versus preservation. Justice versus peace. Okay, she finally said, but we do this smart. No scorched earth, no public destruction. We protect Clara without destroying ourselves. My phone buzzed one final time. Vicente. Files are gone. Everything's been wiped, but I kept copies. First, Deborah said, we need to talk to Clara. The right way this time. I stared at David's message, my sister's words echoing in my head. The right way. Not like Jason. Not like before. Tomorrow, I said. We'll talk to her tomorrow. But first, I had a meeting with David. David chose a private booth at the back of an upscale bar. Late morning sunlight filtered through stained glass, casting colored shadows across his perfect suit, his practiced smile, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Drink? He gestured to the martini already waiting for me. It's 11 a.m. Special occasion. He sipped his own drink. After all, it's not every day someone tries to hack company servers. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Deborah, wondering why I'd agreed to meet him alone. I'd silenced Clara's calls completely, couldn't bear to hear her voice until this was finished. Vicente's sister says hello, I said. The first crack in his composure, a slight tightening around the eyes. Ah, that explains some things. Like why he helped me find your offshore accounts. Those files were encrypted, not well enough. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the copies Vicente had saved. Want to explain why Clara's trust fund is being funneled through shell companies in Panama? He leaned back, studying me. You know what your problem is, Shiloh? You're so busy looking for monsters, you create them everywhere you go. The numbers don't lie. No, but they can be misinterpreted. He slid a folder across the table. Like these bank statements showing Clara authorized every transfer, or these emails where she specifically requested the offshore accounts. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Clara's signature, Clara's emails, Clara's explicit instructions, all dated months ago. She's protecting her inheritance, David said softly. From her brother's gambling debts, the same brother you've been conspiring with. Aiden owes hundreds of thousands to some very dangerous people. Clara's been helping him in secret for months. He took another sip. But you'd know that if you'd actually talked to her instead of playing detective. My phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. Deborah. Don't trust anything he shows you. Classic misdirection. Still getting instructions from your sister? David's smile turned sharp. How is Deborah? Still bitter about her own failed crusade. Ice spread through my veins. How did you... I do my research too. He leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop this vendetta, delete the files, forget what you think you know. Go apologize to Clara for doubting her judgment, again. Or what? Or those dangerous people Aiden owes money to might discover who's been helping him hide assets. And wouldn't it be tragic if Clara had to choose between saving her brother and keeping her best friend out of prison for conspiracy? My throat closed up. You're bluffing. Try me. He stood, straightening his jacket. You have until tonight to decide. Clara's hosting a dinner party. Close friends only. Come apologize, or I start making calls. He left me sitting there, staring at the documents that had seemed so damning an hour ago. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Deborah, don't let him get in your head. Vicente, those emails are dated wrong. The metadata doesn't match. Gabriella, whatever you're planning, please talk to me first. Clara, I miss my best friend. The last one broke something inside me. I dialed Vicente. The emails, I said when he answered. What exactly doesn't match? Timestamps in the metadata are from last week, but the emails are dated 6 months ago. Someone created them recently. Can you prove it? Already working on it, but Shiloh... He hesitated. If we're right about this, exposing him could put Clara in real danger. My hands clenched around the phone. What kind of danger? The kind that comes with 8-figure fraud. These aren't just transfers, it's systematic theft on a massive scale. And Clara's name is on everything. The colored shadows from the window had shifted, painting the damning folder in shades of blood red and bruised purple. I thought of Clara's signature on those documents, of Aiden's supposed gambling debts, of David's absolute confidence that I would back down. My phone lit up one final time. Clara, David says you're coming to dinner tonight. Please say yes. We can fix this. I touched the screen, tracing her words. My best friend, the person I was trying to save, the person I might destroy. Vicente, I said, how quickly can you prove those emails are fake? Give me 3 hours. I glanced at my watch. 6 hours until dinner. 6 hours to decide. Back down and let David win, or risk everything on one final play. Send me everything you find, I said. I'm done playing defense. I had a dinner party to prepare for. Clara's dinner table gleamed with the good china, candles flickering across familiar faces. Gabriella sat beside me, her knee pressed against mine in silent support. Across from us, David held court, telling some story about a client that made everyone laugh, everyone except Aiden, who kept checking his phone under the table. My own phone sat heavy in my pocket, loaded with Vicente's proof, the faked emails, the real transfers, everything. More wine, Shiloh? David's smile hadn't changed since our morning meeting. I'm good. My hand shook slightly as I covered my glass. 6 people around this table. Only 3 knew what was really happening. Clara touched my arm. You're quiet tonight. Just tired. I forced a smile. Work's been crazy. Speaking of work, David said, how's Vicente? The table went silent. Clara's hand withdrew from my arm. I wouldn't know, I said carefully. Haven't talked to him. Funny, because he quit his job today. Very suddenly. David's eyes never left mine. Something about a family emergency in Argentina. My chest tightened. Vicente wasn't answering his phone. Hadn't been since his last message. Got everything. Will send from secure location. David, Clara said softly. We agreed no work talk tonight. You're right, honey. He raised his glass. To friends and family. The ones we can trust. The words hung in the air like poison. Gabriella's knee pressed harder against mine. Actually, I set down my fork. Let's talk about trust. Shiloh, Gabriella's warning whisper. But I was done waiting. Done watching David manipulate everyone around this table. Let's talk about offshore accounts and faked emails. Let's talk about why Vicente really left. Don't, Clara's voice cracked. Please. Show her the documents, Aiden said suddenly. David's head snapped toward him. What? The real ones. Aiden met my eyes. The ones proving you're setting my sister up to take the fall. Clara's wineglass crashed to the floor, red spread across white tablecloth like blood. You're drunk, David said, and bitter about the loan I wouldn't give you. The loan? Aiden laughed harshly. You mean the blackmail? Keep quiet about the fraud, or I tell everyone about your gambling debts. Debts that don't exist. My phone buzzed. Vicente's promised email had finally arrived. Clara, David reached for her hand. They're trying to destroy us, just like Shiloh tried with Jason, like Deborah did with her husband. No. I stood up, fingers trembling as I pulled up the files. We're trying to save her. From what? Clara whispered. From this. I turned my phone toward her. Every transfer, every fake email, every shell company, all dated and verified. He's stealing millions, Clara, and he's using your name to do it. Don't look, David commanded. But Clara was already reading, her face draining of color. These are my signatures, she said, but I didn't. Because he forged them. Aiden moved to her side. I found out last month. That's why he's been pushing the merger through so fast. Once it closes, the money disappears forever. David's mask finally cracked. You ungrateful little... I called the SEC. I cut in. They have everything. Vicente made sure of it before he left. The room froze. Even the candles seemed to hold their breath. You're lying. But David's eyes darted toward his phone. Check your email. I watched him pull it out, watched his face change as he read. They're probably at your office right now. He moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was sitting, the next he had Clara's arm in a brutal grip. You're coming with me. Let her go. Aiden stepped forward. She's my wife. She's my best friend. I met his eyes steadily. And you're not going anywhere. Blue and red lights flashed through the windows. Clara's neighbors had good timing, exactly when Gabriella said she'd call the police. David's grip tightened. Clara whimpered. It's over, I said quietly. Let her go. For one terrible moment I thought he'd hurt her, saw the calculation in his eyes, the desperate math of a cornered man. Then Clara twisted free. Her palm cracked across his face with years of betrayal behind it. The police burst in as he stumbled back. Everything dissolved into chaos. Shouting, handcuffs, Miranda rights competing with David's threats and accusations. Through it all, Clara stood silent, staring at the evidence still glowing on my phone screen, her whole world shattering in carefully documented detail. I'm sorry, I whispered. She turned to me, tears cutting through her perfect makeup. How long have you known? Not long enough. I reached for her hand, but long enough to stop it. She threaded her fingers through mine, squeezing hard enough to hurt. Outside, police lights painted the room in alternating red and blue, like the stained glass in the bar this morning. Like a warning, like redemption. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up on me. The police station coffee tasted like burnt chalk, but I couldn't stop drinking it. Anything to keep my hands busy while Clara gave her statement in the next room. Through the window, I watched her gesture, shoulders straight despite everything, stronger than anyone had given her credit for, including me. You look terrible. Deborah appeared beside me, 2 fresh cups in hand. Better coffee? Thanks. I took one, studied my sister's face. How did you know to send Aiden those files? Because I recognized David's pattern. It's the same one Marcus used, forge signatures, create fake emails, set up the spouse to take the fall. She sighed. I just wish I'd figured it out sooner with my own husband. You did what you could. No. She touched my arm. I did what I thought I had to do, alone. You did better. You built a team. The interview room door opened. Clara emerged, exhausted but resolute. Our eyes met through the glass. Go, Deborah said softly. She needs her best friend, not another detective. Clara was already walking toward the exit. I caught up with her in the parking lot, where false dawn painted everything in shades of grey. They found Vicente, I said. He's safe, testifying remotely. Good, She wrapped her arms around herself. The detective said they found more. Other women, other companies. David's been doing this for years. Clara, did I ever really know him? Her voice cracked. Or did I just see what I wanted to see? Sometimes the hardest person to trust is yourself. The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere I'd been avoiding. After Jason, I stopped trusting my own judgment, started seeing threats everywhere. But this time you were right. This time was different, because this time I wasn't alone. I touched her shoulder. I had Gabriella to question me, Vicente to find proof, Aiden to confirm my suspicions, even Deborah to show me a better way. And me? Her eyes met mine. What did you have in me? Everything. My throat tightened. You're why I had to be sure. Why I couldn't just burn everything down like before. Because you deserved better than scorched earth. She was quiet for a long moment. I got a call from Jason yesterday. My heart stuttered. What? He wanted to know if you were okay. Said he's been worried since he saw you at the coffee shop. She turned to face me fully. He told me what really happened back then. About the surprise party. About letting you believe the worst because he thought it would make the proposal more dramatic. Clara, let me finish. Her voice strengthened. He said his biggest regret wasn't losing you. It was teaching you not to trust yourself. The parking lot blurred. I was wrong about him. Yes, and you were right about David, because you learned to look for proof instead of just assuming. To build support instead of burning bridges. She squeezed my hand. You grew. My phone buzzed. Gabriella. Breakfast. We all need it. She's right, Clara said, reading over my shoulder. I'm starving. You sure you're up for company? I'm sure I don't want to be alone. She managed a weak smile. Besides, I need to thank Aiden properly and meet this mysterious Vicente who's been helping my best friend protect me. He's on video chat from Argentina. Even better, I've always wanted to practice my Spanish. We walked to my car together, shoulders brushing. The sky was lightening, turning the world from grey to gold, like truth emerging from shadows. Another text lit up my phone. Jason, proud of you. Clara watched me delete it without responding. You're not going to reply? No. I smiled, surprising myself with how much I meant it. That story's finished. I'm ready for a new one. Good. She linked her arm through mine. Because I have a feeling my story's just beginning, and I'm going to need my best friend to help me write it. My phone buzzed one final time. Deborah. Coming to breakfast. We have a lot to catch up on, little sister. The sun crested the horizon as we drove, painting everything in fresh light. Ahead, I could see Gabriella waiting outside the diner, Aiden beside her, my sister's car pulling in, Vicente's face on a tablet screen, ready to join us, a team, a family, a truth hard won but worth the fight. Ready? Clara asked as we parked. I thought of David in his cell, of Jason's unread text, of all the paths that had led here, of trust destroyed and rebuilt, stronger in its broken places. Ready, I said, and stepped into the light.
The champagne bubbles in my stomach have turned to acid. I'm standing here in a $20,000 dress, staring at an empty church, while my sister is probably somewhere over the Atlantic with my fiancé. 342 guests are whispering behind me. I know the exact count because I agonized over that seating chart for weeks. Now they're all watching me crumble in real time, their pity thick enough to choke on. Riley. My best friend Zoe appears at my elbow, gripping my arm. We need to get you out of here. I can't move. The altar flowers I obsessed over, white peonies and blush roses, are starting to wilt in the June heat, just like my dignity. He's not coming, I whisper, more to myself than to her. The words taste like metal in my mouth. They're really not coming. My phone buzzes again. Probably another concerned text from a guest wondering where the groom is. Or worse, someone sending me the Instagram post. I saw it 20 minutes ago, right before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. My sister Aliyah, wrapped around Colin on a first-class flight, her caption dripping with false regret. Sometimes love doesn't care about timing. Sorry, not sorry. The memory hits me like a physical blow, and suddenly I'm grateful for Zoe's grip on my arm. My knees feel liquid. I need... The words catch in my throat. What do I need? My sister back? My fiancé to choose me? The last 6 months of my life to be something other than an elaborate lie? You need to hold it together for 5 more minutes. Zoe whispers fiercely. Just until we get you somewhere private. Don't let them see you break. She's right. I force my spine straight, channeling every society event my mother dragged me to. Smile pleasant, eyes empty, like I'm at another charity gala pretending to care about endangered butterflies. Ladies and gentlemen, my voice carries across the hushed church, steady despite the earthquake in my chest. I regret to inform you that today's ceremony is canceled. Please enjoy the reception without us. The food and wine are already paid for. A few nervous laughs, more whispers. Someone starts to applaud, then thinks better of it. Zoe steers me toward the side door, my train gathering dust from the ancient church floor. We're almost there when my phone rings. Not a text this time. The screen shows my mother's face. Don't answer it, Zoe warns. I click accept anyway. Mom? Riley, darling. Her voice is careful, practiced. I've just heard from Aaliyah. Of course she has. Of course my sister called our mother before my wedding day imploded. And? She says she and Colin have been seeing each other since Christmas. She claims they tried to fight it, but... Christmas. 6 months ago. When Aaliyah helped me pick out my wedding dress, the memory of that day crashes over me. Her tears as I stepped out in the winning gown, how she hugged me and said I was the most beautiful bride she'd ever seen, all while she was sleeping with my fiancé. Riley? My mother's voice seems to come from very far away. There's something else. Several people knew. They thought it would be kinder to let you find out after... The phone slips from my numb fingers. Zoe catches it, ends the call. How many? I ask her. How many people knew? She won't meet my eyes. That's answer enough. We reach the bridal suite, the room where I spent this morning getting ready, letting my sister do my makeup because she insisted. Had she been texting him then? Planning their escape while painting my face? I catch my reflection in the full-length mirror. I look like a stranger, some fairy tale princess who took a wrong turn into reality. My sister's artistry is still perfect on my face. The thought makes me want to claw my skin off. I need to get out of this dress, I say. Zoe starts working on the buttons. We'll go to my place, open some wine, figure out next steps. Next steps? A laugh bubbles up, ugly and raw. What's the protocol when your sister and fiancé become international fugitives of love? First step is surviving today. Zoe's voice is firm. Second step is making them regret ever thinking they could do this to you. The dress pools at my feet like shed skin. In my slip, I feel smaller but somehow stronger. The acid in my stomach has hardened into something else. Something sharp and cold and purposeful. My phone buzzes again. This time it's an email from an unknown address. The subject line makes my heart stop. Your sister's long game. You deserve to know the truth. I look at Zoe, whose face has gone pale, reading over my shoulder. Maybe surviving today isn't enough, I say quietly. Maybe we need to think bigger. The email sits unopened in my inbox, a digital grenade waiting to detonate. I've been staring at it for hours in Zoe's guest room, surrounded by the ruins of what should have been my wedding night. My phone keeps lighting up with notifications. I've muted everything except texts from Zoe, who's in the kitchen stress-baking something that smells like cinnamon. The rest of the world can wait. The mystery sender's address is just numbers and letters. Probably a burner account. Smart. The subject line pulses like a warning. Your sister's long game. You deserve to know the truth. I click. Riley, I worked with Aaliyah at Maxwell Corp last year. What happened today wasn't spontaneous. She's been planning this since before Colin proposed. I have proof. If you want to know more, meet me at Cafe Luna tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come alone. Z. My hands shake as I read it again. And again. The words blur together, but one phrase keeps cutting through. Before Colin proposed. A sound escapes me. Something between a laugh and a sob. Zoe appears in the doorway, holding a plate of snickerdoodles. What is it? She asks, then sees my face. Oh God, what now? I turn the phone toward her. She reads quickly, lips pressing into a thin line. It could be fake, she says carefully. Someone trying to make things worse. How could things possibly be worse? I stand up, needing to move. The borrowed t-shirt and shorts from Zoe feel wrong on my skin, like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's life. My sister and fiancé are probably in Paris by now, drinking champagne and laughing about how they fooled everyone. What could be worse than that? Finding out it was premeditated? Zoe sets down the cookies. Riley, think about what this means. If it's true, my sister watched me plan an entire wedding knowing she was going to destroy it. The words taste like poison. She helped pick centerpieces and sample cakes and arrange seating charts, all while... My voice cracks. Zoe reaches for me, but I step back. I need air. Outside, the summer night is thick with humidity. I walk aimlessly through Zoe's neighborhood, past houses where normal people are living normal lives. A couple argues about taking out trash. Kids chase fireflies. A dog barks at nothing. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Aaliyah says she'll call tomorrow to explain everything. Please be open to hearing her side. Her side? Like there could be any explanation that would make this okay? I'm about to throw my phone into someone's rosebush when another text comes through. Unknown number. Riley, it's Zuriel from the wedding. I know we've never really talked, but I saw what happened today. I have some information you might want. Call me if you want to discuss. Zuriel, Colin's boss at the investment firm. I met her exactly twice. Once at the company Christmas party, and again when she RSVP'd to the wedding. Both times she seemed watchful, like she knew something I didn't. Before I can overthink it, I hit call. Riley. Her voice is crisp, professional. I wasn't sure you'd reach out. You said you have information. I do, but first, have you checked your joint accounts with Colin? My stomach drops. No, Do it now. I'll wait. Hands trembling, I open my banking app. The joint account we opened for wedding expenses shows a balance of $47.13. Last week, it held over $50,000. He cleaned it out. I whisper. Yesterday morning. Zuriel confirms. He also accessed several sensitive client files before leaving. Files he shouldn't have had access to in the first place. The implications hit me slowly, then all at once. Are you saying... I'm saying your fiancé didn't just leave you at the altar. He committed corporate espionage. And your sister, as our former marketing director, helped him do it. The world tilts sideways. I grab a nearby fence for support. Why are you telling me this? Because I believe in karma. Zuriel's voice hardens. And because I've been where you are. Different circumstances, same betrayal. I rebuilt myself. You can too. How? Meet me for lunch tomorrow. We'll discuss strategy. I think of the mystery email about meeting at Cafe Luna. 2 separate people reaching out with information. This can't be coincidence. I need to think about it, I say. Don't think too long. The window for action is small and your sister's long game isn't finished yet. The call ends. I stand there in the dark, my mind racing. Zuriel's words echo in my head. The window for action is small. My phone buzzes one final time. Zoe. Found something in your wedding dress pocket. Get back here now. I start running. I'm sitting in Cafe Luna at 1:55 p.m., ignoring Zoe's texts, begging me not to do this alone. The note she found in my wedding dress pocket burns in my bag. A handwritten confession from Colin about choosing happiness with my sister. As if happiness was a limited resource he had to steal from me. My meeting with Zuriel isn't until 4. First, I need to know what Z from the email has to say. The cafe is half empty, sunlight streaming through industrial windows. I chose a corner table with clear sightlines to both exits. Paranoid? Maybe, but I'm done being blindsided. At exactly 2, a woman in a charcoal pantsuit approaches. Riley? I nod, studying her face for any hint of recognition. Nothing. I'm Zara. She sits, placing a manila envelope between us. I handled accounts at Maxwell Corp while your sister was there. What's in the envelope? Emails, meeting recordings, proof that Aaliyah orchestrated this whole thing. She taps the envelope, including how she manipulated her way into Colin's department despite being underqualified. My throat tightens. Why are you showing me this? Because your sister didn't just betray you. She used company resources to do it. Expense accounts, client information, all to get closer to Colin. Zara leans forward. She's smart, calculated. Everything was documented because she never thought anyone would look. But you did. I noticed discrepancies, started keeping records. Then yesterday. She gestures vaguely. Well, I open the envelope with shaking hands. The first email is dated 8 months ago. Aaliyah requesting a transfer to Colin's department. The next shows her expense reports, business lunches, late-night strategy sessions. All with him. There's more, Zara says quietly. But you should know, she's planning something bigger. The wedding was just phase 1. Ice spreads through my chest. What do you mean? Your sister didn't just want Colin. She wanted his client list, his connections. They're planning to start their own firm using stolen information. The cafe suddenly feels too small, too exposed. Why tell me this? Why not go to the police? Because corporate theft is hard to prove. But personal betrayal? Zara's eyes gleam. That's where you come in. You have access to things I don't. Family accounts, shared history. Things that could stop them before the cafe door chimes. Zara goes rigid, staring past me. We need to go, now. What? Nora's here. At my blank look, she adds, your sister's former boss. If she sees us together? Understanding hits like a slap. Of course Aaliyah would have allies watching me. Of course this wasn't going to be simple. We slip out the back exit, emerging into an alley. Zara hands me a business card. Call this number when you're ready to move forward. But be careful who you trust. Your sister has eyes everywhere. She disappears around the corner, leaving me clutching the envelope and card. My phone shows 3 missed calls from Zoe and a text from Zuriel. Meeting location changed. Come to Maxwell Corp instead. 4 p.m. Maxwell Corp, where Aaliyah worked. Where this all started. I flag down a cab, mind racing. The envelope feels heavy with possibilities and dangers. I think of Colin's note. Choosing happiness. Was that part of the script too? Every memory feels tainted now. Suspect. The cab driver clears his throat. Miss, we're here. Maxwell Corp towers above me, all glass and steel. As I approach the entrance, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Walking into a trap, sis. But then, you always did trust too easily. My hands go cold. But before I can retreat, Zuriel appears in the lobby. Riley, right on time. She studies my face. You look like you've seen a ghost. I show her the text. Her expression hardens. Come up to my office. There's something you need to see. The elevator ride is silent. Zuriel's office occupies a corner of the 47th floor, with views that would normally take my breath away. Today, I barely notice. Before we start, Zuriel says, closing her door, I should tell you, I know about your meeting with Zara. My pulse spikes. How? Because I sent her. She holds up a hand as I start to speak. Everything she told you is true, but it's not the whole truth. She turns her computer monitor toward me. On screen is an email chain between Aaliyah and Colin, dated 3 days ago. Your sister didn't just steal corporate secrets, Zuriel says quietly. She stole something much more valuable. Something that could destroy this company and everyone connected to it. The subject line makes my blood run cold. Project Phoenix, final phase ready. Project Phoenix isn't just corporate espionage. It's a complete takeover plan. I stare at the emails. My sister's calculated betrayal laid bare in bullet points and action items. She wasn't just stealing clients. She was systematically dismantling Zuriel's company from the inside. Why show me this? I ask, finally looking up from the screen. Zuriel's lips curve. Because you're the key to stopping them. They've planned for every contingency except you, the jilted bride who's supposed to be too devastated to function. I am devastated. The words come out sharper than intended. Good. Channel that. She slides a folder across her desk. Your sister's not the only one who can play the long game. Inside are incorporation papers for a new company. At the top, Phoenix Rising Investments. You want me to start a competing firm? I almost laugh. I'm a graphic designer, not a financial expert. You're also the only person who knows how Aliyah thinks, how she operates. Zuriel leans forward. I'll provide the expertise and backing. You provide the insight we need to beat her at her own game. My phone buzzes. Zoe again. I silence it, guilt twisting in my stomach. She's been trying to reach me all day. I need time to think. I tell Zuriel, you have until tomorrow morning. After that, your sister's plan goes into motion. She stands. Don't let her underestimate you again, Riley. Outside, the summer evening has turned stormy. I duck into a coffee shop just as rain starts hammering the sidewalk. The barista takes one look at my face and adds an extra shot to my latte without charging. Rough day? I turn to find a man in a well-cut suit watching me with concern. Something about his eyes seems familiar. Talon, he says, extending his hand. I was at your event yesterday. Friend of Colin's from business school. My chest tightens. If you're here to defend him. God, no. He looks genuinely appalled. I came to apologize. I knew something was off with him lately, but I never imagined. He trails off. Anyway, I quit the firm this morning. Couldn't stomach working there after what they did. Lightning flashes outside, illuminating his face. He's handsome in a quiet way. Nothing like Colin's practiced charm. Why are you really here? I ask. Because I have information that might help you, but... He glances around the coffee shop. Not here. Of course. Another mysterious meeting. Another person with secrets to share. But something about Talon feels different. More genuine than Zara's rehearsed revelations. There's a restaurant around the corner, he suggests. More private. I should say no. Should call Zoe back. Process everything I've learned today. Instead, I hear myself say, lead the way. The restaurant is dimly lit, mostly empty. Talon orders wine and waits until the server leaves before speaking. Colin came to me last week, trying to recruit me for some new venture. Wouldn't give details, but he was excited. Manic almost. Talon swirls his wine. Then I overheard him on the phone with Aliyah, discussing something called Phoenix. What exactly did you hear? Enough to know they're not just stealing clients. They're stealing identities. Using personal information from high net worth accounts to... He lowers his voice. Well, it's not legal. Or ethical. My hand shakes as I reach for my glass. That's why they needed the wedding. To access my family's accounts. Your father's investment portfolio alone? Talon grimaces. Let's just say it would fund quite a startup. The wine turns sour in my mouth. I think of my father's pride when Colin joined his firm, how he treated him like a son. Another relationship Aliyah poisoned. Why tell me this? Because what they're doing is wrong. And because... Talon meets my eyes. I've seen how Colin operates. He'll destroy anyone who threatens his plans, including you. My phone lights up with a text from Zuriel. Decision time. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring your answer. Thunder crashes outside. Talon watches me read the message, something like understanding crossing his face. Whatever you're planning, he says quietly. Be careful. Your sister isn't working alone. There are bigger players involved. Like who? He opens his mouth to answer just as my phone rings. Zoe's number. This time I answer. Her voice is breathless, panicked. Riley, where are you? Someone broke into my apartment. They took your wedding dress, all the cards, everything from yesterday. And they left a message. What message? On your dress, in red ink. She pauses. It says, back off while you still can, little sister. I meet Talon's concerned gaze across the table. I'll be right there. Hanging up, I make my decision. Tomorrow morning, I tell him, I'm going to war with my sister. Are you in or out? His answer changes everything. I'm in, Talon had said. But there's something you need to know first. Those words echo in my head as I stand in Zuriel's office at 8:57 a.m., watching her review my counter-proposal. Outside, the city sparkles like nothing has changed. Like my world hasn't shifted on its axis 3 times in the past 12 hours. This is ambitious. Zuriel says finally, looking up from the papers. It has to be. My voice is steady despite my racing heart. Aaliyah won't expect me to move this fast or think this big. Speaking of unexpected moves, she taps her screen. Care to explain why Talon quit his position last night only to apply here this morning? I meet her gaze. Because he knows things about Project Phoenix that could help us. And because he's the only person from Colin's inner circle who had the decency to warn me. Warn you about what? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. The image makes my blood freeze. My wedding dress spread across Zoe's apartment floor. That threatening message now joined by photographs. Dozens of them, scattered like fallen leaves. Photos of me and Colin, me and Aaliyah, all defaced with red ink. Riley? Zuriel's voice seems distant. They broke in again. My fingers tremble as I show her. They're watching us. All of us. Good. At my startled look, she continues. It means they're scared. You're already disrupting their timeline. Or they're trying to scare me off before... I stop, remembering Talon's revelation from last night. Before what? The office door opens before I can respond. Nora strides in, impeccable in a steel gray suit. Sorry I'm late, she says, not sounding sorry at all. Traffic was murder. My pulse spikes. Nora, Aaliyah's former boss, the woman from the cafe yesterday. What is she doing here? Riley was just walking me through her proposal. Zuriel says smoothly. Care to weigh in? Nora's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Of course. Though I'm surprised you're moving forward given the complications. What complications? I keep my voice neutral, remembering Talon's words. Nora isn't just Aaliyah's mentor. She's the architect of Project Phoenix. Your sister's just the face of it. Your sister called this morning, Nora says. She's very concerned about your well-being. Thinks you might be making rash decisions while emotionally compromised. Did she mention how she compromised me? The words taste like metal. Or did that part slip her mind? Family dynamics are complicated. Nora waves dismissively. The point is, starting a competing firm now could seem vindictive. It might damage your reputation. My reputation? I laugh, the sound sharp enough to make both women flinch. My sister and fiancé destroyed my wedding, stole my family's financial information, and are currently breaking into my friend's apartment to threaten me. I think my reputation can handle a little competition. Nora's facade cracks slightly. How did you know about the financial theft? I pull out my phone, click play on the recording Talon made last week. Colin's voice fills the room, discussing account numbers and access codes with Aaliyah. The color drains from Nora's face. That's inadmissible, she says quickly, recorded without consent. Maybe in court? I agree. But the court of public opinion? They'll eat this up, especially when they learn who really orchestrated everything. Zuriel watches this exchange with growing interest. Nora, something you want to share? But Nora is already heading for the door. This meeting is over. And Riley? She turns back, mask completely gone. You have no idea what you're playing with. Back off while you still can. The same words from my wedding dress. My hands curl into fists. After she leaves, Zuriel lets out a low whistle. Well, that was illuminating. It gets worse. I show her the rest of what Talon revealed. Documents proving Nora's involvement in multiple identity theft schemes, with Aaliyah and Colin as her newest pawns. My sister thinks she's the mastermind, I say quietly. She has no idea she's being played too. And you want to warn her? No. The answer surprises me with its certainty. I want to beat them all at their own game. But I need your help. Zuriel studies me for a long moment. You understand there's no going back? Once we move forward, your relationship with Aaliyah. She killed that relationship the moment she chose this over me. My voice catches. Besides, she's not the only one who can play the long game. My phone buzzes again. Another photo from Zoe's apartment. This time it's a close-up of my wedding dress, where someone has pinned a note. Final warning, little sister. Don't make us show you how much worse this can get. I turn the phone toward Zuriel. Still think I'm moving too fast? Her smile is razor sharp. Actually, I think it's time we moved faster. 3 days. That's how long it takes to dismantle someone's life if you know where to push. Zuriel and I have been working around the clock, setting our plan in motion. My hands shake from too much coffee and too little sleep. But I can't stop now. They've taken the bait, Talon announces, striding into our makeshift war room, a converted conference space at Zuriel's firm. Nora's calling an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. I study the timeline we've created on the wall. Photos, documents, connections, all leading to this moment. And Aaliyah? Still in Paris. He hesitates. But she's been making calls. Lots of them. Of course she has. By now, she's discovered her access to certain accounts has been revoked. Probably noticed the irregularities we planted in her financial records, too. Small things, but enough to make someone nervous. My phone lights up. A text from my mother. Aaliyah's hysterical. Says you're trying to ruin her. Please stop this vendetta before someone gets hurt. Vendetta. Like I'm the villain here. Riley. Zoe appears with fresh coffee. Your hands are shaking. I'm fine. You're not fine. None of this is fine. She sets the coffee down harder than necessary. You haven't slept properly in days. You're jumping at shadows. And now you're talking about exposing corporate fraud at tomorrow's meeting? That's dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. I gesture at the wall. They've already threatened us multiple times. What choice do I have? You could walk away, start fresh somewhere else, like my sister did? The words come out bitter. Run away with someone else's life? That's not what I... My phone rings. Unknown number. Everyone freezes. Speaker. Zuriel mouths from her desk. I answer. Hello? Hello, little sister. Aaliyah's voice fills the room, smooth as poison. We need to talk. My throat closes. This is the first time I've heard her voice since the wedding. About what? I manage. About how you're making a terrible mistake. She sighs like I'm a child throwing a tantrum. I know you're hurt, but this revenge campaign? It's beneath you. Beneath me? I laugh. Like sleeping with my fiancé was beneath you? That was different. Colin and I... Save it. My voice shakes. I know about Project Phoenix, about Nora, about all of it. Silence stretches. Then, you don't understand what you're dealing with. Actually, I do. I understand you're not in control like you think. That Nora's been playing you from the start. That everything you stole, the accounts, the client information, it's all part of her bigger plan. You're wrong. But there's a flicker of uncertainty in her voice. Check your private account, I say. The one you think no one knows about. See how much is left. The sharp intake of breath tells me she's looking. Seeing the zero balance we engineered this morning. What did you do? The same thing you did to me. I took everything. My hands stop shaking. But unlike you, I'm giving you a chance to fix this. Come to tomorrow's board meeting. Help me expose Nora. Or lose everything you thought you were gaining. You wouldn't dare. The sister you knew wouldn't, but you killed her at the altar. My voice hardens. The person you're dealing with now? She's someone else entirely. Talon moves closer, supportive but silent. Zoe looks torn between pride and horror. Riley, please. Aaliyah's voice cracks. You don't know what they'll do. Actually, I do, because they've been doing it to me all week. I think of my defaced wedding dress, the threats, the break-ins. The difference is I'm not backing down. They'll destroy you. No, I say quietly. They'll try. But I learned from the best, didn't I, big sister? You taught me everything about playing the long game. The line goes dead. Seconds later, my phone buzzes with a text from Nora. You were warned. What happens next is your fault. Almost immediately, Talon's phone chimes. His face goes pale reading the message. What is it? I ask. They're moving up their timeline. The board meeting, it's not tomorrow anymore. He shows me his screen. It's in 2 hours. Zuriel stands. Then we move up our timeline too. But we're not ready, Zoe protests. The documentation, the presentations. We have enough. I start gathering files. They're panicking. That means we're closer than we thought. My phone buzzes one final time. A message from Colin. You should have stayed down, Riley. Now everyone will see exactly what you're capable of. I stare at his words, feeling something shift inside me. He's right. They will see what I'm capable of. Just not in the way he thinks. 2 hours, I tell my team. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate the wrong sister. The Maxwell Court boardroom feels like a courtroom, all polished wood and weighted silence. I stand at the head of the table, facing down 12 board members, my hands steady on the presentation remote. Nora sits at the far end, her smile sharp as a blade. No sign of Aaliyah yet. As I was saying, Nora continues smoothly. Ms. Riley's accusations are clearly motivated by personal vengeance. Her recent and emotional upheaval has led to some concerning behavior. A few sympathetic nods from the board. They see exactly what Nora wants them to see. A jilted bride having a breakdown. Time to change that narrative. You're right about one thing, I say, clicking to the first slide. This is personal. The screen fills with transaction records, dozens of them, all showing systematic theft from client accounts. Next slide, emails between Nora and various shell companies. Then, recorded conversations, account transfers, the whole elaborate scheme laid bare. But my emotional state isn't the issue here. I meet each board member's eyes. The systematic fraud being committed under your watches. Nora's smile vanishes. These documents are clearly fabricated. The boardroom door opens. Aaliyah walks in, Colin right behind her. My sister looks exhausted, nothing like her triumphant wedding day photos. She won't meet my eyes. Perfect timing, I say. I was just getting to your part in all this. Riley, don't. Aaliyah's voice shakes. Please. Why not? Afraid they'll learn how you helped steal client information? Or how you and Colin were just pawns in Nora's bigger game? Colin steps forward. You're delusional. Actually, Talon says from the doorway. She's right. He moves to stand beside me, dropping a thick folder on the table. I have proof of everything, including your role, Colin. The board chairman leans forward. What exactly are we looking at? A 3-year scheme to steal client identities and assets, Zuriel says, entering with perfect timing. Using unwitting employees as cover. Isn't that right, Nora? Nora stands, mask cracking. This is absurd. You have no actual proof. Check your phone. I tell the board members. You just received an email with complete documentation, including recordings of Ms. Nora here planning my wedding day, humiliation as a distraction from her larger theft. Phones buzz around the table. Faces darken as they read. You recorded me? Aaliyah whispers. No. I finally look at my sister. You recorded yourself. Every meeting, every call. You documented everything to protect yourself from Nora. But you stored it all on the cloud account we've shared since college. The color drains from her face. Behind her, Colin starts edging toward the door. Don't bother. Talon calls after him. Security's waiting outside, along with some very interested FBI agents. Chaos erupts. Board members shouting questions, Nora demanding her lawyer, Colin making a break for it only to be caught by security. Through it all, Aaliyah stays frozen, staring at me. Why? She asks finally. Why not just turn us in? Why this whole elaborate plan? Because I needed to understand. My voice cracks. I needed to know if any part of our relationship was real, or if I was just another mark in your long game. Riley, was any of it real? The wedding dress shopping? The late-night talks? All those years of being my big sister. Was it all just practice for manipulation? Tears spill down her cheeks. Not all of it. Not at first. Ms. Riley, the chairman interrupts. These allegations are extremely serious. We'll need you to stay and make a formal statement. I nod, not taking my eyes off Aaliyah. I know exactly what to say. You'll destroy my whole life, she whispers, like you destroyed mine. I step closer. The difference is I'm giving you a choice. Tell them everything about Nora's operation, everything. And I'll tell them you helped expose it. Or don't. And I'll bury you with the truth. She looks at me for a long moment. Really looks at me. Maybe for the first time in years. When did you get so strong? When you forced me to be. The boardroom doors open again. FBI agents enter, handcuffs ready. Nora starts yelling about her rights. Colin goes quietly, already bargaining. And Aaliyah straightens her spine, wipes her tears, and turns to the chairman. I'd like to make a full statement, she says clearly. About everything. I feel Talon's hand on my shoulder, steadying me. Across the room, Zuriel gives me a subtle nod. It's done. It's finally done. My phone buzzes one last time. A message from Zoe. You did it. Now come home and rest. Rest. The word feels foreign after so many sleepless nights of planning. But first, Chairman, I say, I believe I have a company to save. The visitor's room at the detention center smells like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. I sit across from Aaliyah, studying her face through the scratched plexiglass. She looks smaller without her designer clothes and perfect makeup. The prosecutor offered me a deal, she says, picking at a loose thread on her orange sleeve. In exchange for testimony against Nora. Are you going to take it? Already did. She meets my eyes. I'm done playing games. Thanks to you, I finally understand the cost. The words hang between us, heavy with everything unsaid. Outside, a guard checks his watch. 5 minutes left. I found Mom's ring, I tell her. The one Grandma gave you for your 16th birthday. It was in the wedding dress pocket, wrapped in your confession note. Her breath catches. I couldn't keep it, not after betraying everything it represented. She nods, tears threatening. The funny thing is, I continue, finding that ring was what made me realize you weren't completely gone. The sister I grew up with was still in there somewhere, buried under Nora's influence and your own ambition. Riley, I'm not finished. I pull out a folder. The board appointed me interim CEO yesterday. My first action was to review all personnel files. Want to know what I found? She shakes her head, but I push on. Every job you've ever had, including Maxwell Corp., you got on your own merit. Nora didn't orchestrate your hiring like she told you. Your qualifications were real. Your talent was real. Why are you telling me this? Because you didn't need to steal anything. You were already enough. The guard approaches. Time's up. Wait! Aaliyah calls as I stand. The ring. What did you do with it? I touch my neck, where the ring hangs on a chain, keeping it safe. For when you remember who you really are. Outside, Talon waits by his car. You okay? No. I lean against him, letting out a shaky breath. But I will be. My phone buzzes. Zuriel with updates about the company restructuring. Then Zoe reminding me about dinner. The world keeps spinning, keeps demanding attention. The board meeting's in an hour, Talon says. Ready to officially accept the CEO position? I think about Nora's corner office, now mine. About the weight of responsibility, of other people's trust. About second chances and the price of redemption. Actually, I say, I have a different idea. The boardroom feels different today. Maybe because I'm not here to tear anything down, but to build something new. Ladies and gentlemen, I begin, I'm declining the CEO position. Murmurs of surprise. Zuriel raises an eyebrow from her seat. Instead, I'm proposing a complete restructuring. New leadership, new ethical guidelines, new everything. Starting with this. I click to my presentation. On screen, Phoenix Rising Investments, rebuilding trust through transparency. The company Nora feared we'd create? Let's actually build it. But this time, let's do it right. 2 hours later, I stand at my office window, watching the city lights blink on. My phone shows missed calls from reporters, lawyers, well-wishers, and one text from an unknown number. You could have destroyed me. Thank you for showing me another way. I touch the ring at my neck, thinking of the sister who gave it to me, of the woman she became, of the person she might be again, of second chances and the courage to take them. Talon appears in my doorway. Car's here. Zoe's threatening dire consequences if we're late for dinner again. Can't keep her waiting. I gather my things, pausing at the photo I've placed on my desk. Not of my almost wedding, but of 2 young sisters sharing a swing set, laughing at some forgotten joke. You really think you can rebuild all this? Talon asks softly. No. I take his hand. I think we can build something better. Outside, the city stretches endless with possibility. Somewhere in a detention center, my sister reads through her plea deal. In boardrooms and offices, people are already whispering about Phoenix Rising's bold new direction. And here, in this moment, I feel the last pieces of my old self fall away. They say revenge is best served cold. But redemption? That burns like sunrise, warming everything it touches. I step into the elevator, ready to rise.
I stared at my phone, watching as birthday wishes flooded Bella's social media. Not for her birthday, for mine. My sister had posted a selfie with the caption, "Happy birthday to my amazing big sis," and somehow managed to make my birthday about herself. Again. My name is Sophia, and I've spent 24 years being the backdrop to my sister's spotlight. Today was just another reminder. "Sophia, come down. We have a surprise." Mom's voice echoed up the stairs. I already knew what kind of surprise it would be, the kind that wasn't meant for me. I trudged downstairs, plastering on the smile I'd perfected over years of being the mature one. The living room was empty, except for Dad reading his newspaper on the couch. "Where's the surprise?" I asked, though I already knew better than to hope. "Oh!" Mom's eyes widened. "Right. Bella, honey, come in." My sister burst through the front door, her perfectly styled hair bouncing as she jumped up and down. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Behind her in the driveway sat a brand new Tesla Model 3, complete with a massive red bow on the hood. "Happy graduation, sweetheart." Dad finally looked up from his paper, beaming. "You've earned it." I felt my chest tighten. That's the surprise? "Isn't it amazing?" Bella squealed, dangling the keys. "Mom, Dad, you're the best." "We're so proud of you, honey," Mom gushed, hugging Bella. Graduating a semester early is such an achievement. I cleared my throat. You do remember what today is, right? Mom looked confused for a moment. Thursday? It's my birthday, I said quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. Oh! Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, Sophia, I'm so sorry. With all the excitement about Bella's graduation and the car, we'll make it up to you this weekend, Dad added quickly, not meeting my eyes. Right, I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. Like last year's makeup dinner that never happened, or the one before that? Don't be dramatic, Bella rolled her eyes. It's just a birthday. Besides, you're old enough not to need all that attention anymore. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. 4 years younger, yet somehow always the priority. Always the star. Always the one who deserved the Tesla while I drove a 10-year-old Honda with a failing transmission. You're right, Bella, I said, surprising everyone, including myself, with my calm tone. I am old enough to stop expecting things to change. Sophia, Mom started, but I was already heading upstairs. Enjoy your car, I called over my shoulder. I have work to do. Back in my room, I opened my laptop and pulled up the business plan I'd been working on for months. My hands were shaking as I logged into my savings account, the one my family knew nothing about, the one where I'd been squirreling away every extra dollar from my day job. My phone buzzed, a text from Adrian. Happy birthday. Still on for coffee tomorrow? I typed back, yes, and I'm ready to talk about that investment opportunity you mentioned. Another buzz, this time from Alex, my mentor from the online entrepreneurship forum. Happy birthday. Did you review those market analysis documents I sent? I smiled, a real smile this time. Yes, and I'm ready to move forward. Let's meet next week. Standing up, I walked to my mirror and stared at my reflection. The good daughter, the responsible one, the backdrop. Not anymore. My phone buzzed again. Probably more birthday wishes on Bella's post. I ignored it and instead opened my business email draft to Alex. Dear Alex, I've reviewed everything and I'm ready to launch. The website designs are complete, marketing strategy is set, and initial inventory is ordered. Let's schedule that meeting and make this official. Best, Sophia. My finger hovered over the send button as I heard the excited squeals from downstairs, Bella probably showing off her new car on FaceTime to her friends. Enough is enough, I whispered, and hit send. The quiet click of my bedroom door locking felt like sealing a pact with myself. In the distance, I could hear the purr of a Tesla engine starting up. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care about what was happening downstairs. I had my own engine to start. You're seriously doing this? Adrian stirred his coffee, eyes wide as I showed him my laptop screen. Like actually doing this? Already started, I said, clicking through my newly launched website. The first batch of designs is ready to go live tomorrow. We sat in our usual corner of the local coffee shop, away from the morning rush. 3 weeks had passed since my birthday, and I'd been working every spare moment on my business. But custom phone cases? Isn't that market saturated? Adrian leaned closer to examine my designs. Not like this. I pulled up my signature collection. See these? They're all hand-drawn, incorporating personal photos into abstract art. People send their favorite memories, and I turn them into something unique. Adrian whistled. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. But how are you funding this? I've saved enough for the initial inventory and website costs. Plus, I hesitated, then grinned. Alex is investing. Alex? The tech mogul Alex? The one who mentored you in that online forum? The same. We met yesterday. He loves the concept and thinks it could scale big. Adrian sat back, shaking his head. And your family has no idea? They think I'm working overtime at the design firm. I took a sip of my latte. Mom actually praised me last night for being so dedicated to my little job. Speaking of your family, Adrian nodded toward the door. Bella walked in, followed by her friend Angela. I quickly closed my laptop. Sophia? Bella spotted us. "What are you doing here? Don't you have work?" "It's my lunch break," I said smoothly. "Hi, Angela." Angela gave me a dismissive wave, already focused on her phone. "Whatever," Bella shrugged. "Mom wants to know if you're coming to my car photo shoot this weekend. Angela's dad is letting us use his professional studio." "Can't. Working." "Again?" Bella pouted. "Mom's going to be upset. She says you're getting antisocial." My phone buzzed. An email notification. "Order number 1 confirmed." My heart skipped a beat. "I have to take this," I said, standing up. "Work call." Outside the coffee shop, I pulled up the order details. Someone wanted a custom case featuring their grandmother's garden transformed into an art piece. The order note read, "Love the concept. Can't wait to see what you create." "For sale?" Adrian had followed me out. I nodded, unable to speak. "This is real, Soph. You're really doing it." "I am," I whispered. "I really am." My phone buzzed again. "Alex, saw your first order. Remember what we discussed. Document everything. This is just the beginning." I thought back to our meeting yesterday in his sleek downtown office. "Your designs are exceptional," he had said, examining my portfolio. "But more importantly, you understand the emotional connection people have with their memories. That's what will set you apart. I've been invisible my whole life," I told him. "I know what it's like to want something meaningful, something that proves you matter." "Then let's make sure you're invisible no more." He'd signed the investment contract right there. Another buzz. "Mom." "Sophia, please reconsider the photo shoot. It would mean so much to your sister." I put my phone away without responding. "You okay?" Adrian touched my arm. "Better than okay," I said. "I need to get back to my little job so I can work on this order tonight." "Need help?" "Actually," I pulled out my tablet and showed him my production schedule. "I could use someone to help manage orders and customer service once this takes off. Someone I trust." Adrian's eyes lit up. "Are you offering me a job?" "More like a partnership. 20% stake if you're interested." "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Alex suggested I'd need help scaling, and there's no one I trust more than you." Adrian hugged me so hard, he nearly knocked over a passing customer. "Sorry," we both called out, then burst into laughter. Back at my desk at the design firm, I opened my personal email. 30 new subscribers to my website's newsletter. 5 more people following my business Instagram. My phone buzzed yet again. "Bella, Mom's really upset you're not coming. Stop being so selfish." I started typing a response, then deleted it. Instead, I opened my design software and began working on Order Shik-Ho-O-1. By the time I finished, it would be a masterpiece, proof that being invisible didn't mean being powerless. As I worked, I could hear my coworkers discussing lunch plans, client meetings, weekend schedules, normal life continuing around me while I secretly built something extraordinary. "Just wait," I whispered to myself, adding the final touches to my design. "Just wait and see." 200 orders this month. Adrian high-fived me across our makeshift office in my bedroom. "And the reviews are insane." I refreshed my business email, watching more notifications pour in. 3 months had passed since that first order, and things were moving faster than I'd imagined. "Look at this one," Adrian read from his screen. "I cried when I opened the package. My late husband's favorite fishing spot turned into this beautiful abstract design. It's like seeing our memories through new eyes." "That's your magic, Soph." A knock at my door made us both jump. "Sophia?" Mom's voice. "Dinner's ready. Adrian, you're welcome to join us." "Thanks, Mrs. Wright," Adrian called back, quickly minimizing our order management software. I slipped my laptop under my pillow. "Coming!" Downstairs, Bella was already holding court at the dinner table, Angela at her side. "Great." "So anyway," Bella continued as we sat down, "the Tesla Club is hosting this huge charity event next month, and they want me to be one of the featured drivers." That's wonderful, honey, Mom beamed. We'll need to get you a new outfit. Dad nodded absently, focused on his phone. What about you, Sophia? Angela asked with fake sweetness. Still working late at that design place? Something like that. I took a bite of pasta. She's always working. Bella rolled her eyes. It's like you don't even live here anymore. I pay rent, I reminded her. Speaking of which, here's this month's check, Dad. Dad finally looked up. Actually, about that, your mother and I were thinking it might be time for you to find your own place. Bella could use your room for her Tesla Club meetings. I nearly choked on my pasta. Adrian's fork clattered against his plate. Excuse me? Don't be dramatic, Mom waved her hand. We just think it would be good for you to have some independence. You're making decent money at your job and… When? I cut her off. Well, the club meetings start next month, so… Perfect, I stood up. I'll be out in 2 weeks. Sophia, sit down, Mom frowned. We're not finished discussing this. Actually, we are. Adrian, can you help me look at apartments tomorrow? Absolutely, he said, standing with me. Don't be ridiculous, Bella scoffed. Where are you going to find a decent place on your salary? My phone buzzed. Another order notification, then another. I'll manage, I said. Back in my room, Adrian pulled up real estate listings while I checked our sales dashboard. Holy shit, he whispered. Soph, look at this. Our monthly revenue had just crossed 6 figures. Alex was right, I said, pulling up my banking app. We're going to need a real office soon. And I know just the place. Adrian turned his screen toward me. That new development downtown, they have retail office combo units, perfect for a showroom and workspace. Another knock. Sophia? Dad this time. Can we talk? Come in. Dad entered, looking uncomfortable. Listen, about dinner, your mother didn't mean… It's fine, I cut him off. You're right. It's time for me to move out. But can you afford it? I know your job doesn't pay that much and… Dad, I met his eyes. Trust me, I can afford it. He shifted, noticing the spreadsheets on our screens. What are you two working on? Just some freelance stuff. Adrian jumped in smoothly. Extra income, you know? Dad nodded slowly. Well, good. That's good. Being responsible with money is important. After he left, Adrian let out a breath. That was close. It won't matter soon, I said, pulling up the real estate listing again. Call them. Set up a viewing for tomorrow. What about your job? The design firm? I smiled, opening my resignation letter draft. Time for that to become my freelance work instead. My phone buzzed again. Bella. Mom's crying because of you. Why do you always have to make everything difficult? Then Mom. Please be reasonable, sweetie. We're just trying to help. And finally, Alex. Quarterly numbers look exceptional. Ready to take it to the next level? I looked around my room, at the walls that had witnessed years of being overshadowed, at the desk where I'd launched my escape, at the hidden laptop still processing orders. Send the real estate agent my info, I told Adrian. I'm ready. For the office? For everything. As Adrian made the call, I heard Bella's Tesla start up in the driveway, followed by Angela's loud laughter. Once, that sound would have made me feel small, invisible. Now it just made me smile. Because while they were heading to another club meeting, I was about to sign a lease on my future. And the best part? They still had no idea what was coming. And now, please welcome our next speaker at the Young Entrepreneurs Summit, the founder of Memoryscape Designs. I straightened my blazer, heart pounding as I walked onto the stage. 6 months since that forgotten birthday, and here I was, addressing a packed auditorium. Hi, I'm Sophia, I began, my voice steady despite the nerves, and I turn memories into art. From the front row, Alex gave me an encouraging nod. Adrian, manning our product display in the expo hall, had texted me a string of emoji encouragement just minutes before. The presentation flew by, our growth metrics, customer testimonials, expansion plans. The audience leaned forward when I revealed our latest numbers. Over $500,000 in revenue last quarter. Questions? The moderator opened the floor. A woman in a sharp suit stood up. Your growth is impressive. Are you considering venture capital? We're actually, I started, but a familiar voice cut me off. Oh my God, Sophia. Angela stood at the back of the room, phone already recording. Next to her, Bella's mouth hung open. Keep it professional, I reminded myself. As I was saying, we're currently in talks with several investors, but maintaining our creative integrity is crucial. More questions followed, but I barely heard them. My sister's presence was like a spotlight I hadn't asked for. Exactly what I'd been avoiding these past months. After the session, I tried to slip out the back, but Bella caught up. What the actual hell? She grabbed my arm. This is what you've been hiding? You're some kind of CEO now. Founder and creative director, actually, I corrected, gently removing her hand. Excuse me, I need to get back to our booth. Does Mom know about this? Is this why you moved out so fast? Why didn't you tell us? Bella, I have investors to meet. But I'm your sister. Yes, I turned to face her. The sister who got a Tesla for my birthday. The sister who needed my room for her car club. That sister. Angela appeared, still filming. This is wild. Wait till everyone sees. If you post that, I cut in, my lawyers will have it taken down before you can count your likes. Now, if you'll excuse me. I walked away, my heels clicking against the marble floor, leaving them staring after me. At our booth, Adrian was swamped with potential buyers and investors. There she is, he called out. Sophia, meet Marcus from Silicon Valley Partners. He's very interested in our expansion plans. The rest of the day passed in a blur of business cards and handshakes. By closing time, we had 3 potential investment offers and a major retail chain wanting to discuss exclusive partnerships. Drink, Adrian suggested as we packed up. You deserve it after today. Can't. Meeting Alex for dinner to discuss the offers. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since Bella's appearance. Mom. What's this about you running a company? Call me immediately. Dad. Your mother is very upset. We need to talk. Bella. You're being ridiculous. Why are you acting like this? Angela. At least let me post about your success. I'm trying to help. You know you'll have to deal with them eventually, Adrian said gently, noticing my expression. I know, but not today. At the upscale restaurant, Alex was already waiting with a bottle of champagne. To the newest rising star in tech accessories, he raised his glass, and to proving everyone wrong. They showed up today, I told him, explaining the encounter. Perfect timing, actually. Alex pulled out his tablet. Look what just went live. He showed me the article. Memoryscape, how this 24-year-old turned personal photos into $1 million business. It's trending, he smiled. Your family won't be able to ignore this one. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. Saw your presentation. Impressive work. Would love to discuss featuring you in our 30 under 30 list. Forbes. Alex, I said slowly. I may have mentioned you to some people, he winked. Success is the best revenge, but publicity makes it sweeter. Later that night, in my new apartment overlooking the city, I finally opened my family's messages. The latest was from Dad. Just saw the article. We had no idea. Can we meet? I walked to my home office, where a wall displayed our most popular designs. In the center hung my first creation, a swirling, abstract pattern based on a photo of my childhood bedroom, the one I'd been asked to vacate. My phone buzzed one last time. Bella. Mom's crying again, but this time I think they're different tears. I smiled, thinking of tomorrow's meetings, of our expansion plans, of the Forbes photo shoot being scheduled. Different tears indeed, I whispered, and turned off my phone. The cafe was my choice, neutral ground, public, and most importantly, with an easy escape route. I arrived early, ordering my usual latte, and claiming a corner table where I could see the door. Mom and Dad walked in exactly on time, looking smaller somehow. Less intimidating than I remembered. Sophia, Mom reached for a hug, but I stepped back, gesturing to the chairs. Let's sit. They exchanged glances before settling in. Dad cleared his throat. You look different, he said. Success does that, I replied, watching Mom flinch. So you wanted to meet? We saw the Forbes article, Mom began, and the television segment, and the everything. Why didn't you tell us? When should I have told you? During Bella's car photo shoot? Or maybe while you were kicking me out of my room? We weren't kicking you out, Mom protested. We were just suggesting that I wasn't worth the space I occupied, I finished. Message received. Dad leaned forward. Sweetheart, we had no idea you were capable of all this. That's the problem, isn't it? You never bothered to find out what I was capable of. The cafe door chimed. Adrian walked in, right on schedule, my backup plan if things got too intense. Is that why you're doing this? Mom asked. To punish us? No, I took a sip of my latte. I'm doing this because I'm good at it. The fact that it makes you uncomfortable is just a bonus. Your sister is devastated, Mom tried again. She feels betrayed. Bella feels upstaged, I corrected. There's a difference. Speaking of stages, Dad pulled out his phone. We saw you're speaking at the National Business Innovation Conference next month. We thought maybe. You want to come? I finished. They nodded eagerly. The same way you came to my college graduation, or my first art show, or any of my birthdays? That's not fair, Mom's voice cracked. No, it wasn't fair. But life rarely is, right? Isn't that what you always told me when Bella got everything and I got nothing? Adrian caught my eye from across the cafe, raising an eyebrow. I shook my head slightly. I had this under control. We made mistakes, Dad admitted. But we're trying now. Now that I'm successful, now that I'm in magazines and on TV, now that people know who I am. You're our daughter. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled back. I have a meeting, I stood up. My assistant will send you tickets to the conference, front row, so everyone can see you being supportive parents. Isn't that what you want? Sophia, please. Mom's eyes welled up. We love you. You love what I've become, I corrected. There's a difference. As I walked toward the door, Dad called out, Will you at least come to dinner? Your sister, she misses you. I turned back. Bella doesn't miss me. She misses being the center of attention. Tell her she can have her old spotlight back. I've built my own. Adrian fell into step beside me outside. You okay? Never better. I checked my phone. The conference organizers want to know if I need extra tickets for family. What should I tell them? Tell them yes, I smiled. Let's give my family front row seats to what they missed all these years. My phone buzzed. A text from Bella. Mom's a mess after your meeting. Why are you being so cruel? Then another. BTW. Angela's dad knows someone at Forbes. Maybe they'd want to do a story about me too. I showed Adrian the messages, laughing. Some things never change. Speaking of change, he pulled up our sales dashboard. We just hit $2 million in monthly revenue. Alex wants to discuss international expansion. I looked back through the cafe window. Mom was crying into Dad's shoulder, her coffee untouched. Schedule the meeting with Alex, I said, and book that billboard on their drive to work. The one they'll see every morning? That's the one. Let's make sure they never forget what they overlooked. Another text from Bella. Fine, be that way, but don't expect me to support your little business. I typed back, Don't worry, sis. I learned from the best how to succeed without family support. Adrian whistled. Cold. No, I watched my parents leave the cafe, shoulders slumped. Just honest. My phone buzzed one last time. Alex. Conference preparations on track. Ready to announce the expansion? I looked at the cafe, then at my office building gleaming in the distance, and finally at my parents' retreating figures. Tell them I'm ready, I replied, and make sure the photographers get my good side. Which is that? Adrian teased. the side my family never saw coming. And now, please welcome to the stage the founder and CEO of Memoryscape, speaking about revolutionizing personal tech accessories. The conference hall was packed, 3,000 people, and in the front row, exactly as planned, sat my family. Mom in her Sunday best, Dad in his only suit, and Bella, looking uncomfortable in business attire that still somehow managed to show too much skin. Thank you, I took the podium. Let me tell you about being invisible. The audience leaned in. 3 years ago, I was working at a design firm, creating other people's visions while my own gathered dust. I lived at home, paid rent for a room I was told I didn't deserve, and watched my dreams slip away. Mom shifted in her seat. Then I realized something. Being invisible doesn't mean being powerless. Sometimes it means having the perfect cover to build something extraordinary. I clicked to the first slide. My bedroom turned office from those early days. This is where Memoryscape began. Not in a Silicon Valley garage, but in a room I was told I needed to vacate for someone else's hobby. Dad coughed, looking down. Today, we're announcing our expansion into Europe and Asia. Our app launches next month, and we've partnered with 3 major phone manufacturers to offer our designs as premium options. Applause erupted. Bella's face had gone pale. But more importantly, I continued, we're launching the Memoryscape Foundation, providing grants to overlooked artists and entrepreneurs, because sometimes the most brilliant ideas come from the people nobody sees. The standing ovation was immediate. As I left the stage, Alex met me with a champagne flute. Brutal, he grinned. Brilliant, but brutal. Ms. Wright, a reporter pushed forward. Your family is here today. How do they feel about your success? I turned, camera-ready smile in place. Why don't we ask them? Mom stood frozen. Dad fumbled with his tie. But Bella, dear, predictable Bella, grabbed the moment. We're so proud, she gushed, reaching for my arm. I always knew my sister would... Actually, I stepped back. My family is experiencing my success exactly as I experienced their support, from a distance. The reporter's eyes widened. Are you saying... I'm saying some people prefer Tesla photo shoots to supporting their children's dreams. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have investors waiting. I walked away, hearing the furious scribbling of the reporter's pen. Sophia, Mom's voice called out. Please, just wait. I turned. For what? Another forgotten birthday? Another room I need to vacate? You're making a scene, Bella hissed. No, I'm making history. There's a difference. Adrian appeared with perfect timing. Sophia, the Japanese investors are ready. Your sister is trying to talk to you, Dad said firmly. And I'm trying to run a global company, I replied. Guess which one takes priority? When did you become so cold? Mom whispered. Around the same time you became so interested in my life. Funny how success changes people's perception, isn't it? Bella stepped forward. At least let me post about the expansion on my social media. I have followers who want to see your Tesla, I finished. No thanks. We have a marketing team. Ms. Wright? A young girl approached, clutching one of our phone cases. Could I get your autograph? Your story? It inspired me to start my own business. I smiled, genuinely this time. What's your name? Sarah. I was invisible too. Not anymore, I signed her case. And neither am I. Looking back at my family, I added, sometimes the best revenge is becoming everything people said you couldn't be. Revenge? Dad's voice cracked. Is that what this is? No, I straightened my jacket. This is business. The revenge was just a bonus. Adrian touched my arm. The investors? Right, I nodded. Mom, Dad, Bella, thanks for coming. The exit is clearly marked, just like my success. As I walked away, I heard Bella's voice. She's just jealous because... Shut up, Bella, Dad cut her off. Just shut up. In the meeting room, Alex was already charming the investors. Ah, here she is, the woman who turned personal photos into global art. Speaking of photos, I smiled, pulling up our new campaign. Wait until you see what's next. My phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Billboard just went live, the one on their route home. I opened the attachment. There it was, 40 feet high, my face, my company, my success. The tagline read, "Sometimes the biggest dreams come from the smallest rooms." Another buzz. Mom, we get it. You've made your point. Please, can we just talk? I showed Alex the billboard photo. He laughed. Now that's what I call a statement piece. No, I replied, watching through the window as my family left the building. That's what I call justice. The annual Tech Innovation Gala was everything they said it would be. Crystal chandeliers, flowing champagne, and Silicon Valley's finest all in one room. I adjusted my designer dress, a far cry from the hand-me-downs I used to wear. Ready? Adrian appeared beside me, dapper in his tuxedo. Born ready. We entered the ballroom just as the MC announced, and our Rising Star Award goes to Sophia of Memoryscape Designs. The spotlight found me as applause erupted. I made my way to the stage, passing table after table of industry giants who were now my peers. And there, at a table near the front, my family. Mom in a dress that still had the tags on, Dad looking uncomfortable in a rented tux, and Bella, wearing white to someone else's awards ceremony. Thank you, I began, gripping the crystal award. They say success is the best revenge, but I've learned it's actually something else. Success is the best mirror. It shows people exactly what they missed, what they overlooked, what they threw away. The room fell silent. A year ago, I was told I needed to vacate my bedroom for a car club. Today, that same room's photo is on our company's billboard. Funny how life works. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. But this award isn't about revenge. It's about visibility, about showing every overlooked person that they don't need permission to shine. They just need to believe in themselves when no one else will. The applause was deafening. As I stepped down, Alex intercepted me. The acquisition offer just doubled, he whispered. They want to announce tonight. Before I could respond, Bella appeared. Nice speech, she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Very subtle. Unlike your dress, at least I earned my spotlight. Ms. Wright, a photographer called out. Family photo? No, I said firmly. No family photos. Sophia, Mom approached, mascara slightly smeared. Please, we're trying. Trying? I laughed. Now that I'm successful, now that I'm winning awards, where was this trying when I needed it? You're being ridiculous, Bella snapped. We're your family. No, I turned to face them fully. You're people who share my DNA. Adrian is family. Alex is family. They believed in me when you were too busy planning Tesla photo shoots. Dad stepped forward. We made mistakes. Mistakes? I cut him off. Let's talk about mistakes. Remember my college graduation? When you left early because Bella had a dance recital? Or my first art show when you didn't show up at all? Or every birthday that became about her somehow? The nearby tables had gone quiet, listening. Those weren't mistakes, I continued. Those were choices, and now you get to live with them. The press is watching, Bella hissed. Good, I smiled. Let them watch. Let them write about how success doesn't just change the person who achieves it, it changes everyone who ignored them on their way up. Alex appeared at my elbow. Time for the announcement? Perfect timing, I nodded. Mom, Dad, Bella, enjoy the rest of your evening. I have a $100 million acquisition to announce. Mom gasped. Dad's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. 100 million? Bella stammered. Give or take a few million, I shrugged. But don't worry, I won't need to borrow your Tesla anymore. As I walked away, I heard Bella's shrill voice. But what about me? I'm your sister. Don't I get anything? I turned back one last time. You got everything for 24 years. Now it's my turn. The rest of the night passed in a blur of congratulations and champagne toasts. The acquisition announcement made headlines within hours. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from my family. Mom, please, we can fix this. Dad, we're so sorry. We didn't know. Bella, this isn't fair. I'm your sister. At least give me a job or something. I showed the messages to Adrian, who snorted. Some people never learn. No, I agreed, watching my family leave the gala early, heads down. They don't. Later, as the party wound down, Alex found me on the balcony. You know, he said carefully, revenge might feel good now, but this isn't about revenge anymore, I cut him off. This is about justice, about balance, about karma finally catching up. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Angela. OMG, just heard about the acquisition. I always believed in you. Want to get coffee? I deleted it without responding and looked out over the city lights toward the billboard with my face on it. Ready to go? Adrian asked. Almost, I smiled, raising my champagne glass toward the night sky. I just want to enjoy the view a little longer. After all, I'd earned it. The moving trucks pulled away from my parents' house as I sat in my car, watching. They'd finally sold it, the house where I'd spent 24 years being invisible. The billboard with my face still loomed overhead, a silent witness. My phone buzzed. Adrian. Sure you want to do this? On my way, I texted back. The drive to my new office building took 15 minutes. Not the downtown space we'd started in. This was different. This was the old Carter photography studio where Bella had done her Tesla photo shoot. I'd bought it last week. Mom's car was already in the parking lot. Dad's too. And there was Bella's Tesla, looking slightly less shiny these days. They're inside. Adrian met me at the door. Alex is keeping them calm. I straightened my jacket and walked into what used to be the main studio space. The room where Bella had posed with her car was now filled with framed photos, hundreds of them. Every moment they'd missed, every achievement they'd ignored, all professionally documented and displayed. What is this? Mom whispered, staring at a photo of my empty seat at my art show opening. Memory lane, I said, making them jump. Like what I do with phone cases, but bigger, more personal. These are all... Dad trailed off, looking at a photo of himself reading the newspaper, while I showed him my college acceptance letter. Moments you missed? Yes? I walked to the center of the room. But that's not why you're here. Bella stood in front of a particularly large photo, her Tesla photo shoot, but in the background you could see me through the studio window, working on my first business plan. Why are we here? She asked quietly. Because it's time to end this. I pressed a button. The lights dimmed and new photos illuminated, ones they hadn't seen before. Me at the office, laughing with Adrian, speaking at conferences, helping young entrepreneurs, living, succeeding, thriving. I spent years being angry, I said, watching their faces. Years planning the perfect revenge. And I got it. The success, the money, the recognition. I made you feel as small as you made me feel. Sophia, Mom started. Let me finish. The thing about revenge is it doesn't fill the hole. It just digs new ones. I walked to a covered frame at the end of the room. So this is it. My last act of revenge. Or maybe it's forgiveness. I'm not sure there's a difference anymore. I pulled the cover off. It was a new phone case design, a collage of family photos, both good moments and bad, swirled into something beautiful and painful and real. This is our story, I said. All of it. The favoritism, the neglect, the revenge, the success. I'm releasing it as a limited edition. All proceeds go to a new foundation. What foundation? Dad asked. The Wright Family Foundation for Overlooked Artists, because sometimes the best way to heal old wounds is to prevent new ones. Bella stepped forward. Why are you doing this? Because carrying anger is exhausting. Because success means nothing if you're still fighting old battles. Because... I took a deep breath. because you're still my family, even if we need to redefine what that means. What does it mean? Mom's voice cracked. It means no more pretending, no more perfect family photos. We're messy and broken and real. Take it or leave it. And if we take it, Dad asked, then we start over, not as the perfect family, but as people who acknowledge their mistakes and try to do better. Bella touched the phone case design. Even me? Even you, but on equal footing this time. No pedestals, no shadows. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Bella? The Tesla Club called. They're looking for a new meeting space since the house sold. I hear there's a room available here. You'd let me use the space? Yes, because that's what family does when they're ready to do it right. Mom was crying openly now. Dad looked years older. Bella just stared at the phone case. Take your time, I said. Look at the photos. Really look at them. Then decide if you're ready for what comes next. Adrian waited by the door. You okay? No, I smiled, but I will be. My phone buzzed. Alex. New York Times wants to cover the foundation launch. Ready? I looked back at my family, still moving through the gallery of moments. The missed ones, the painful ones, and now maybe the healing ones. Tell them yes, I replied, but make sure they understand. This isn't a story about revenge anymore. What is it about? Adrian asked. Through the window I could see my billboard starting to come down, making way for something new. It's about what happens after revenge, I said. When you finally let yourself be seen, not as who they made you, but as who you chose to become.